What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast, the highlight of Friday nights. I am your host, Sports PSP. Hope everyone's enjoying a fantastic day coming off work, school, whatever the case may be. Hope everyone had a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving weekend from last weekend. And we're about a few weeks away from Christmas. About a few weeks away from Christmas and all the other great holidays, man. But of course, I'm chilling on a Friday night. And look, anyone who's in the East Coast or in the Midwest or down south, please make sure y'all wearing some blankets because it's getting cold. Cold, cold, cold. Take some hot showers. Make sure you stay warm because it is no joke when it comes to this winter, man. So please stay warm. But I'm having a fantastic day. Had a great day off from work. And of course, I'm here on the Friday night with my panel. You see the top gentleman on my left. Yeah, I call him Mr. Atlanta for a reason because everything he represents Atlanta. Falcons, Braves, Hawks, all that. He is one half of the Georgia Bulldog Alliance. He is a girl dad. He is improving, as the words of Weezy Jefferson, moving on up because now he's got his microphone and soon to be, he's going to have his own posters and all that type of stuff. He always brings real flair. BRF Sports. How you doing, man?
Life is good, man. I can't complain, man. Had another solid week of work. Just kind of running it like I have been, staying on the grind. Always a pleasure to hop on the highlight of Friday night with y'all two fine gentlemen, my brothers in crime here, PSP and Champ. Life is good, man. I can't complain, man. I had a great Thanksgiving, ate a lot of food. Actually, not too long ago, just got off the phone with my little girl. Talked to her for a minute. She's doing okay. So, I mean, life is good. Life is good. A brother can't complain. How y'all fellas doing tonight?
We doing fantastic. And of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without my main man, all the way from Columbus, Georgia. He is the four-time college degree champion. He is the military man and veteran. He is what I call him, the Al Roker of journalism, the young Charles Barkley, the younger version of Mark Henry. He is brilliant, smart, sophisticated. Different style of glasses. You know, one minute he's rocking these types of shades, and the next minute he's wearing something else. Hey, 9-5. Can you give a brother some of them XL glasses? That's what he's looking for. Of course, brilliant, smart, knowledgeable, compassionate, the whole nine. Mama Champ's number one favorite son. She definitely needed all of his support because she is still stomaching a tough loss last night from the Detroit Lions. Hopefully, the Cowboys will bounce back. Shout out to the great Ace as well. Mama Champ's number one favorite son, undisputed world champ, or as the big fella I call him. How you doing?
Hey, fresh pair of shades. I hit the club stunting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, these are Versace's, by the way. So you're gonna see a lot more of me flossing. Like the late great Biggie Smalls say, man. Big be flossing. But look, man, I'm coming to y'all in high definition now. In high definition. So I'm so grateful to be on the Sports PSP podcast, the highlight of Friday nights, man. I'm glad to be here every single Friday, man. And being on here every week is a great highlight, man. I'm ready to talk sports, ready to get into all the good things, man. And look, man, it's been a good week this week, man. A very, very interesting week. A lot of good documentaries coming out. John Elway's documentary is out. You know, the Chicago Bears documentaries come out. A lot of good sports documentaries are out right about now. So
I don't think you want to mention documentaries because for obvious reasons.
I was the thing is, I be trying to avoid. It's kind of like a fork in the road. I try to avoid it and go around, and then PSP just pushed me right into it. But yeah, that was an interesting documentary. I know
You
the one you talking
triggered me when you mentioned the term documentary. That's why.
about. Yeah, but
Bow, 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 bow.
This is not the uncensored show, VRL. The other show is uncensored. The other show is uncensored, bro. But this is not the uncensored show. But
Okay, you right. You got me. You got me. You got me. I just that opportunity. I couldn't miss that.
you already get started. You already damn near got banned on the Undisputed we damn near got banned on the Undisputed Goat podcast. And y'all know I'm still in Instagram jail. So, you know, yeah. But look, go check out the Chicago Bears documentary, the Super Bowl Shuffle. John Elway's documentary is coming out. And in February, the San Francisco 49ers, the dynasty of the 80s and the early 90s, is coming out. So if you're a sports fan, it's a great time to be a sports fan. We're about to get ready to go on Christmas break. A lot of good sports documentaries is coming out right about now. And look, check out Saquon Barkley's documentary, man. All these sports documentaries, if you're a sports historian, guess what, man? You will enjoy the holiday season because there's a lot of them coming out.
Absolutely. Please also go shout out to the Ballhawk Sports Talk podcast. I'm also a contributor there as far as with the research. Shout out to B Brown and also Big Flo. And also shout out to this beautiful, wonderful, lovely woman, the great D. D also took the time to say hello to you, big fella. She wishes you nothing but the best and hopefully she'll meet you soon.
Yes, indeed. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. But fellas, let's keep it real short and quick because we did this on Undisputed Goats podcast, our college football picks. Now, obviously there's some games right now with the North Texas one, and there's James Madison at Troy. But of course, we got the big games for tomorrow for college football as we speak right now. Um, some big games we got for the college football, the conference championship game. At 12 p.m. on Saturday, we got 11th ranked BYU going up against 4th ranked Texas Tech. The battle for the Big 12 championship at AT&T Stadium at Arlington, Texas. Texas Tech is a 12.5-point favorite. I think it's pretty fair to say Texas Tech because we all said that on the Undisputed Goats podcast.
Yes, indeed, man. That offense, man. Look. Big 12 is always known for offense. They've averaged almost 47 points a game, Texas Tech. I don't see BYU beating them at all. I really don't. And people can talk about the cupcake schedule that they have. The most important part about on the road to being a champion or the road to the playoffs is beating the teams you're supposed to beat. So, look, I got Texas Tech all the way when it comes to that. I don't see BYU competing with them at this point.
BRF?
Yeah, I gotta agree with the homie champ on this one. Texas Tech. One thing you know for certain about the Texas Tech Red Raiders, going all the way back to Mike Leach, who put this university on the map, they gonna chunk it. Don't matter the situation. They gonna throw the rock. They're gonna spread it around. They keep a bunch of playmakers on the outside, and they're always gonna have a quarterback that can distribute. I see no reason Texas Tech is not winning this game. I don't see no reason they don't drop another 40 bomb. I got Texas Tech all the way.
I got Texas Tech in this one, 37, BYU 17. So, for the next game that we got right here, we got, unfortunately for y'all, the rematch between Georgia versus Alabama. Champ is scared on this one because, again, the last time these two teams faced, Bama ended up getting the victory. Kirby Smart, throughout his time against Alabama, is 1-7. Is it finally time for Kirby Smart to say, not today? Not today. We cannot lose to Alabama again. We still going to be in college football playoff contention. Mark my words. But we cannot lose to Alabama again. Who wins?
Alabama, get out the car. This is the rematch in the great words of Debo. Man, let me tell y'all something. We're going to get them this time. We're going to get them. I believe that we made a lot of improvement from where we were early in the season. The offense back then was kind of stagnant. We were still getting used to Gunnar Stockton. and a lot of that conservative play call from Coach Bobo back then. And I believe that during that time they was just playing not to lose. They weren't playing to win. But I think during that Ole Miss game, ironically, the Ole Miss game kind of woke us up a little bit. And ever since then, we've been on the roll and we ain't been looking back. So with how we've been playing, not just on the offensive side, but the defensive side as well. That defense has made strides. So, hey, and we playing in that ATL. We playing in that ATL. So guess what? That's our second home. We just won there a week ago. Just won there a week ago. So Alabama, get on out the car. This is the rematch in the Great Worst Debo. And guess what? This time you won't have that brick, Craig. We gonna take y'all.
You going to the game?
No, not this time. I got some stuff I got to do tomorrow, but yeah, uh, not this time. I know I'm gonna make some strides to go to a few games this year, next year coming up, but got some important things to take care of tomorrow, and the uncensored show I would say, but no, not tomorrow, not tomorrow, but we gonna make some strides and head to a couple of games, man. I'm gonna drag BRF out of Madison, out of the boondocks in Madison, and we gonna go to the city at ATL.
Please do, please do, sir. Please do, sir. Please do. Whether it's a game at Sanford for the Dogs or whether it's the Benz for the Falcons, please get me the hell out of here. I need to get out.
You work too
but
hard.
oh man, I tell you. But I gotta say, the two most the two biggest improvements I've seen from the Georgia Bulldogs, like going back to the Ole Miss game, it's the pass rush, it's the front seven. But shout out to Mike Bobo. He's not. You could see like a change in his play calling. Like he's more aggressive. And I think it kind of coincides with the way Gunnar Stockton has been playing. When your quarterback's confident and your quarterback's chunking the ball and he's able to feel what he's able to go out there and run, their offensive coordinator is able to wing it. So even though Alabama's had Georgia's number, I think it's about time. I think it's time. I think Georgia takes this one. I know earlier I was saying maybe we should go, play in the first round and, kind of stay in the rhythm. I think it's time. I think it's time. I think Georgia wins the SEC championship. I think they beat Alabama. I think it's about time.
Unfortunately for y'all, I'm gonna have to roll with Roll Tide on this one because my thing is, even though Mike Bobo has done a much better job of just being more aggressive, you're gonna have to allow Gunnar Stockton to take chances, even if he makes mistakes. So what? You still have Nate Frazier running the football. After all, Chad, you've often said Georgia's running back you for a reason. So my thing is, let Gunnar Stockton take some chances and use his legs. That's what you're going to have to do. And as far as for the defensive standpoint, how you going to stop Ryan Williams? Because even though he's been having some drops issues, still, you can't deny what he can do. Ty Simpson, hey, just keep him in the pocket. Make sure he does not escape outside the pocket because that's really what he does well on the offensive side. And win the turnover battle. Don't commit dumb penalties. Kirby Smart, don't do something foolish or reckless. And I think Georgia can have this win, have the victory. But Kalen DeBoer, who you early on, champ, you said, hey, 3 types of places you can get fired real quick. Alabama, Philly, and who else? I forgot.
And the SEC.
See, so I think Kellen DeBoer has improved. Now again, he had the struggle early on against Florida State, and then it's the microphone for BRF. He's still
Yeah,
getting
man,
adjusted.
yeah, I'm still trying to get adjusted to it. That's just all it is.
But like I said, I think it's Kellen DeBoer with the play calling, and I think with Kellen DeBoer after coming off that tough loss against Oklahoma, my Oklahoma Sooners. Ironically, it's been now since we joined the SEC, we're 2-0 against Bama. I think for Kellen DeBoer, just go to your strength. You saw what you did against Georgia the first time, and you beat them at Athens, Georgia. So even if in the ATL, still, you're still going to be some Bama fans that are going to be supporting there. So I think Bama is going to get the job done. I say 26-21.
Gunner Stockton, air him out like a ceiling fan.
And if Big Fella, if they lose, what's going to happen for you?
If they lose, personally, let me see what I can do.
Drink
If they lose, I will wear a special hat next week.
in Alabama?
We're going to keep it a surprise. I will wear a special hat next week.
Oh, Lord. You might wear a Saints hat.
One may never know. I will wear a special hat next week if they lose.
Okay. Well, you gotta be careful with undisputed world champ. We don't know his judgment nowadays. I mean, Instagram blocked them, but we'll see how that goes. But you never know. Champ is unpredictable. All right, Duke versus Virginia. Virginia's a 4-point favorite. Man, they've been turning it around ever since that big victory at home against Florida State. Even though you can say whatever you want about Florida State, they've fallen off. But Virginia, man, they've been a really good story so far this season for college football. I got them winning this one.
Hey, this is another Cinderella story in college football, and I think the clock don't strike midnight on this one. I'm taking Virginia as well. Plus, I don't like Duke. I never have, never will. So that hatred from basketball is leaking over into football. So Virginia, take them down.
BRF?
I am. I'm here. I'm here for the chaos. I'm here for the fun. On paper, Virginia should win this, but I'm here for the chaos because Duke can't get in the college football playoff. Even if they win the ACC, they can't get in. But I'm for chaos. I'm picking Duke. I am for chaos. I am absolutely for chaos because I feel like the ACC had their best chance to really do any damage in the CFP with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech not get in now is like, I mean, it is what it is at this point. I'm here for chaos. I'm picking Duke.
And of course, the Big Ten championship game, Indiana versus Ohio State. Ohio State is a 4-point favorite, even though Ohio State is the favorites. But, Chip, you mentioned just like the SEC championship game is in Atlanta, ATL, it's at Lucas Oil Stadium, the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis, Indiana. So don't be surprised Indianians are going to be supporting that game, but I still got OSU because I just think that their offense is going to be too much for Indiana to handle. But OSU's defense is going to have a hard time with Mendoza and that offense. So I got OSU 38, Indiana 24.
I think this is going to be a shootout, to be honest with you. And look, Ohio State hasn't been tested all year. I think the closest thing to a test that we was looking for was when they played Michigan in like the first quarter or two. And that you saw how that turned out. They haven't been tested all year long. So I'm hoping that this will be the test. And if they pass it, oh, it's going to be some smoke in the city in the college football playoff, especially if they get a bye week. So, hey, I'm going to go with the Ohio State Buckeyes, man. And look, man, Ohio State's offense scares me. But in the great words of Ernest the Cat Williams from WCW, Indiana, they mean too. And this is a glorified home game if you really want me to be honest with you.
BRF?
Ohio State's the best team in the country. I mean, I think there's no getting around it. I mean, Julian Sanders was playing amazing ball. They have the best wide receiver duo in the country in Cornell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. And that defense is always lurking with Ohio State. I will say this though about Indiana, where I give them a puncher's chance. It's Fernando Mendoza and Elijah Surratt, who I've been saying for weeks. I think it's a first round NFL talent. That said, though, I'm going Ohio State. I think they're the best team in the country, and I think they just have too much going on right now. Give me Ohio State 31-17.
If Fernando Mendoza plays well and beats OSU, I think that's the nail in the head for him winning the Heisman. If that happens,
That's very fair. I like that take right there.
I
That's
think
very
that's very fair too.
considering Indiana's record, considering that people just think Indiana's beating some soft sheets. No, they've beat Illinois early on in the year. They went to Oregon and beat Oregon. That comeback victory against Penn State. This could not only be a great case for Fernando Mendoza as far as winning the Heisman, this could add on to him becoming potentially the number one overall pick. Because if there's a quarterback that wants to be taken with the number one overall pick, it has to be him.
I'm trying to slide in the draft if I'm him. I'm not trying to go to the Jets. Not sure as hell ain't trying to go to the Browns. So I'm answering every question.
Well, right
wrong.
now the Titans. Well, right now the Titans have the number one overall pick. If the season ended today, they are going to take a page out of the Chicago Bears book by getting themselves some multiple first and second round picks. But it has to be to a team that desperate enough. I wouldn't mind if he goes to Minnesota because I'm not sold on JJ McCarthy.
Nope.
I would love to see him paired up with a Justin Jefferson and with the pieces and with Kevin O'Connell. So I would love to see that for Mendoza. But we'll get into football and later on. But fellas, I gotta switch into basketball. It's been a while since we've talked about basketball. The Los Angeles Clippers, they've decided to send Chris Paul home. Chris Paul, we all know, future first ballot Hall of Famer, 12-time NBA All-Star. But I'm reading a report right here from Young Masuk. Hope I'm pronouncing the name right, from ESPN. Los Angeles Clippers, James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, they were both shocked when they heard the news that the Clippers decided to send Chris Paul home. This is what Chris Paul said Wednesday night as the Clippers beat BRF's Atlanta Hawks 115-92, ending their 5-game losing streak. I'm just as confused and shocked as you guys. Definitely surprised me, but not just Chris. It's a lot we were dealing with, but that is out of my hands. I got to focus on what I got to focus and what I can control. I guess the front office felt it was the best decision for the organization. Kawhi Leonard said it was shocking to me. I guess they had a conversation, front office made a decision. It was reported, according to Sham Sharania, Paul and his leadership style clashed with Lou and the Clippers, according to sources who told Sharania that the 12-time All-Star was vocal in holding management, coaches, and players accountable. The Clippers believe Paul's style had become disruptive. Sources told Sharania. Lawrence Frank, for those who may not know, he's like the president of basketball operations, I believe, for the Los Angeles Clippers, right, champ?
Yes, sir. I believe.
Yes. Frank said Wednesday that the organization's decision to part with Paul did not stem from one isolated incident and that the sides have had more than one conversation before Paul was informed he would no longer be a part of the team. Ty Lue, the head coach, he was asked whether Paul's departure from the Clippers helps them. He said, I don't think it necessarily helped our team. I don't think the reason why we're 5-16 because of CP's play. I just think that it wasn't a good fit for what he was looking for. Do I want to see CP go out like this? No, I have a lot of respect for him. He's been a friend of mine over the years, and you don't want to see a great go out like this. I'm pretty sure he will find something because he's a great player, but I didn't want to see it end like this. Um,
Yeah,
so
and
it,
he's the president, not the vice president.
yeah, he's the president of basketball operations.
Yeah.
And shout out to our beautiful friend Nessa on the podcast. Love you, Nessa. Um, Fellas, look, it's sad to see it end like this with Chris Paul. He's going back to his old team, the Los Angeles Clippers. But to me, Chip, I don't have a problem with Chris Paul's leadership and style because after all, you look at this team right now, the Clippers, it's a damn shame because they should be much better than 5-16. And when you look at the Clippers years ago, when they acquired Kawhi Leonard in free agency, champ, after when Kawhi Leonard won the NBA championship in Toronto, there were expectations for them to win a championship. And the closest they've gotten was the conference finals the following year after the bubble. And it's just a damn shame for the Clippers. It's a damn shame for the owner, Steve Ballmer, who took ownership of the team back in 2014 after the aftermath of Donald Sterling. It just seems like the Clippers, they just can't get out of their own ways. As for Chris Paul, we all know he's going to retire after the season. And when you look at Chris Paul's body of work, there's no question about it. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards to play the game, 12-time NBA All-Star, one of the most versatile point guards in the game. Not only he can do it offensively, because we all know he can handle the ball. He's a great mid-range shooter. I mean, he's a good enough three-point shooter. He's around 35, 36% of his career. But man, he anytime when you put CP3 on your team, you're going to be legitimate. You're going to be competitive. Look what he did with the Hornets, the Clippers. Look at what he did with the Rockets, especially the first year with him and James Harden, or his first and last year with Oklahoma City, or with the Phoenix Suns. When Chris Paul's in the situation, you're going to make the most out of it. You're going to become nothing but better. But now, with the Clippers being 5-16, Chris Paul being 40 years old, I think the Clippers are just saying, you know what? Let's just sit him out because we're not going to go that far anyway to begin with. Because you look at the West right now, you got the Lakers playing out of their minds, especially with Luka and Austin Reeves. LeBron is not even asked to do that much. Matter of fact, last night, first time in a while, not even a double-digit game.
8 points.
8 points.
But
You
had that
look at
sweet, but had that sweet pass
yes,
that won the game though.
yes. You look at OKC. They still gonna come out of the West, as far as my opinion. Jokic, still doing Jokic things to this day. I will still say Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA. And when you look at the West, man, I just don't see the Clippers at this point, 5-16. I think for them, by sitting Chris Paul home, is an indication that they're starting over. They're going to start over. They're going to move on from the old players, start with new players. And that's what I see, because you can't tell me at this point, with the Los Angeles Clippers as presently constructed right now, they are competing. They are going anywhere. If they make a crazy play 10, 11 game winning streak and they at least perhaps make the play-in tournament, I'd be totally astounded. But if you look at this team right now, and I'll find the stats later on the show, you look at scoring. You look at scoring right now. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 24th in the NBA in points per game at 112 and a half. Only the Brooklyn Nets, Indiana Pacers, Sacramento Kings, Dallas Mavericks, and the Washington Wizards average less points per game than the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, you look at their 3-point percentage right now. They're shooting right now with the Los Angeles Clippers. They're around 35.5%. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're around like in that 19th-ish range as far as 17th-ish range as far as 3-point percentage. But bottom line, they're not the team that they were years ago. They had to move. They're probably moving on from CP3. And once they move on from CP3, what's next with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard? I think this is a step for them to move on, start in a new direction, get some younger players in the draft. And when you look at this freshman draft class, you look at the kid from BYU, you look at Cam Boozer from Duke. Say what you want about Duke, champ. You can't deny him. And
Nope.
you cannot deny all these other freshman players. I
Nope.
think that the Clippers, they're moving on. And by sending Chris Paul home, it's an indication that they're moving in a younger direction and that they're going to start new. What are your thoughts?
Oh man. What's so funny, man, is I remember when we finally became competitive again, and we were starting, and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George went to the Clippers. I never forget we used to call that game between them and the Lakers the Battle of Los Angeles because we really thought we was going to go back and forth for years, battling in the Western Conference Finals for championships. We thought that at the bubble, we thought that that was the beginning of the Battle of Los Angeles. We thought that was, but come to find out, that was just, hey, the eternal flame was merely a smokescreen, and it's sad. As far as Chris Paul is concerned, man, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at a certain point. You have to look when you are a veteran player. Even Kobe, him being the player that he was, once he got a little bit older and he knew he was on his way out, he took a step back. I remember seeing Paul Pierce and how he was on the Clippers. How he stated he was on the Clippers. He said, "Man, I used to go to practice and stuff like this, but the way I looked at it, man, I'm on my way out. I'm on my way out. I'm not finna go around here and antagonizing. I'm not finna go around here and try to be a disruptive force. I'm way past my prime. And guess what? I'm not gonna sit around here and antagonize. I'm gonna take a step back. And if these young guys want advice, they can get it. But other than that, I'm finna enjoy this ride and ride this wave. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Although Chris Paul is a very, very competitive player, you want to be competitive. Guess what? You are not in your prime anymore. You're not going to be that difference maker that they need. Guess what? This is going to be your last year. Chill out, have a farewell tour, let the NBA fans and the people and the franchise that you know you helped bring to prominence wish you well on your way out and just chill. Sometimes, in the great words of a famous minister, you could get a lot of trouble because your darn mouth. So all of that trying to, and I understand him being the competitor that he is, but at this point, if you were 26 and had this attitude, I completely understand. I completely understand. You're going to be the difference maker. You want to win, but when you went to this team, the Clippers, you knew that they were Clippers, but they ain't giving no lineups. In fact, they pushing people's hairline back because they just that horrible. That's the kind of Clippers that they are right about now. They ain't them good Clippers. That's gonna get the edge and give you that temple fade and give you that uptown fade. That's the fade. They them Clippers just gonna push your hairline back like mystical. So you knew what you was getting yourself into. This your farewell tour. Now's not the time to be challenging people. I understand you being competitive, but guess what? Even Kobe, once he was in his farewell tour, hey, it's up to y'all now. I can't go around here challenging people like I used to. Now, is it unfortunate after all he did for this franchise that they treated him that way? Yes. Do I agree with that? Yes. No, I don't. Excuse me. I don't agree with how they treated him because he did a lot for that franchise. That franchise owes Chris Paul a lot because there was never a time in the history of that franchise other than when Larry Brown was there with Danny Manning. And that was one of the worst teams I ever saw make a playoff run. That was one of the worst teams I ever saw make a playoff run. But other than that, the Clippers have not been relevant in any way before Chris Paul and Lob said it. They have not been relevant. So it's unfortunate to see a person who was a cornerstone of a franchise at one point get sent home. But at the same time, once you get a little bit older and realize you're not the cornerstone anymore, guess what, man? Just ease back and ride that wave, man. Not That's not the time to be. I'm going to hold guys accountable. No, this is not the Clippers that you left. These are not Doc Rivers's and Donald Sterling's the Donald Sterling tragedies Clippers. This is a whole new regime. This is a whole new ball club. This is a whole new coach. This is not your team anymore. And I understand being a competitor, but this is your last year. Do you really want to go out on your sword like that? No. Do you really want it to end like that? No. Do you really need it to be in a way where it's going to be remembered. Because the thing is this, am I speaking too loud, man?
No, it's the noise in the background. It's all good, champ.
But my bad. But when you think about all the things that went on, it's not your team anymore. This is not Lob City anymore. You're no longer in your prime. Take that step back and look. You know this team is not competitive. You know it's not competitive. So don't be a disruptor. I understand competitive nature. Hey, you guys should want to be. Yes, I get all of that. You are a winner. We know that. Chris Paul may not have a championship, but he is a winner. But on your last year, hey, enjoy the farewell tour. We thank you for everything that you did for the NBA. We thank you for everything you did for Lob City. We thank you for everything you did for the city of Los Angeles. But it's time to put certain things to rest at a certain point. You can't go around here and still have that mentality that you had when you was 30, now that you're 40. This is not that same team. You're not going to be if they were competitive, I will say. And if their record, if they had won, let's say 14 games and they was like 14-6, yeah, okay. Hold guys accountable. Hold their feet to the fire. I understand that. But this is not that team. Kawhi's probably on his way out. James Harden probably on his way out. And they're probably about to blow this thing up. And that
Well, you
uh
can't trust him at this point right now because Kawhi, as great as he is, champ, the problem, and we discussed this on Babyface Heel, his injuries throughout his career, and with James Harden. But the thing is, I don't have a problem with CP3 holding coaching staff, management, and players accountable, champ, even if it's his last year. Still, in all, that tells you a lot about the Clippers organization. And if I'm Chris Paul, but at the same time, why would you go to the Clippers if you're trying to compete? If you want to go elsewhere, that's one thing. I can understand that, but at the same time, the Clippers organization, they have to be held accountable because, again, if you're tolerating or condoning this type of behavior in terms of losing, then what does it say about you or as an organization? Tells me that you're not interested in winning at this point, and you're more interested in focusing on the future by starting off from scratch, getting rid of the older players, getting some newer players, building a new culture, establishing a new culture, something that Clippers fans can look to behold. And it's interesting with you, champ, because remember, rest his soul, David Stern prevented CP3 from going to your Lakers because he was supposed to be traded to the Lakers. But because Commissioner David Stern got in at the time, unfortunately for y'all, that didn't happen. He ended up going to the Los Angeles Clippers. Just imagine if Chris Paul actually was in the Lakers uniform with rest his soul, Kobe Bryant, and with an Andrew Bynum and with a Pau Gasol.
that would have been an interesting. Well, Paul Pal would have been on the Rockets.
He probably would have been traded, but
Yeah,
either
Pal.
way, but I believe CP3 and Pau Gasol, they would have definitely worked because of what CP3 can do as far as with pick and roll, and Pau as far as him expanding his 3-point game and hitting mid-range shots, though.
Yeah, that was the most excited I had ever been because the Lakers had a chance to transition from an aging yet great star to a new star. CPT was, I believe, if that would have happened, we would have been in mediocrity for so long after Kobe, the late great Black Mamba, left. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But outside of that, but look, I hated that didn't happen. But in turn, we got to see Lob City. We got to see a combination that was very, very similar to Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Blake
True.
Griffin and
DeAndre Jordan.
CP3 was very, very similar to Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. So we got to see that Los Angeles style. Not to mention they could run the gun with the best of them as well. So
Unfortunately for them, they never went to a conference championship game, champ, because they had two good chances against OKC. They lost in six because remember, they had a big lead in the fourth quarter. I think it was like 9-7 points, and then OKC just came back out of nowhere. And no one can forget the 3-1 deficit that they blew, particularly in game six at the Staples Center at the time, because James Harden, the runner up for the league MVP, although I felt like he should have won the MVP that year over Steph, he was on the bench. And it took every bit of Dwight Howard, Josh Smith, Corey Brewer, and the rest of those guys to come back and push it to a game 7 and for them to win game 7. Unfortunately, with Chris Paul at this point, it's sad because again, he's not going to have a championship. But I still believe that you know what that still doesn't mean he's not great. It's just really unfortunate, and I just think that the Clippers they realize, look, we're not going to compete. We're not going that far. And by with his leadership style, although I don't really have a problem with it, because again, if he's not only holding himself, he's holding everyone accountable. That's a testament to how bad he wants it. But at the same time, the Clippers, they just feel like, you know what, we're gonna send you home. Because according to Sham's report, they're saying they believe that he's being disruptive to the team. So we'll just send him home. Kind of like how with Andy Reid, how he sent Terrell Owens home
Mm-hmm.
because once he got into it with Brad Childress, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and Hugh Douglas, the defensive end.
Well, Hugh Douglas even admitted that he was going to that he wanted to get into a fight with To
Hugh
because he was siding with Donovan at that time, Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, and got touched up real good, but that's another story for another day.
I didn't
But
hear
Chris,
about that.
he got touched up real good. Hey man, T.O. is not no small dude, bro. Don't get it twisted. T.O. is not no small. That dude is 6'3", like 220. That's a big old dude. So
He's not scared. No, To's not scared. Yeah, say
that's a big
whatever you
old dude.
want. I mean, and one thing, you know what about To? In some ways, he kind of reminds me of Champ
Yeah,
Bret Hart.
yeah.
You see how Bret Hart is attacking everyone nowadays, especially what he said about Vince and Sean, which we'll save that for another time. But Bret Hart, make no mistake about it, he is unapologetic. He calls it like he sees it. Same
Mhm.
thing with To. He calls it like he sees it. People can say he can whine and complain. Oh, just let it go, move on. But hey, but with CP3, man, it hurts. I wish he could go somewhere else. The question is, who would take him? I don't know. Maybe it would have to be a team that would be in playoff contention. But let me get BRF here. BRF, what are your thoughts about the Clippers sending Chris Paul home?
Chris Paul has always been one of those like really true like vocal leaders who've like I don't know it's I don't know even in the Clippers position. I mean, they really don't have leverage to be all like, oh well, you know, Chris. I mean, I understand from Ty's Lue's perspective because he's the coach, but at the same time, it's like you need veteran leadership like that to a certain extent. I mean, you're 6-16 now. Yeah, you beat the Hawks. You beat the Hawks the other night, but I mean, I mean, I hate to toot my team's horn, but you beat them without a lot of starters. I mean, let's be real here. But I think they really don't have the room to be all like wanting to kick him to the side because you know because of his voice and how loud he can be. Because I mean, they're not a good team right now. They need all the leadership. They need all the voices. They need all of the strong. They need all the strong leadership that they can get. So, I personally think I think the Clippers are going to be in a position now. I don't know. I don't see them really getting better. If I think by mid-season, I think they're going to be like James Harden. I think is going to be available. I don't know. I don't see this team really getting any better. I don't see the point in it, but I mean, they know better than me, so I don't know. I didn't see the point in it personally.
Just want to make a quick correction. Clippers, they're 18th in the NBA as far as 3-point percentage. I want to make that minor correction real quick. But it's sad, BRF, because again, with Chris Paul, like I just mentioned it with Champ, because in 2011, he was supposed to be traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, not the Clippers. But Commissioner Stern, rest his soul, interfered, and they decided to for Chris Paul to be traded to the Clippers. Can you imagine Chris Paul with Kobe Bryant with that backcourt?
My thing with that was this: how do you veto Chris Paul and Kobe Bryant, but let LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh go? Like, I don't see the
It was a
I don't
conspiracy.
see the logic. I don't see the logic in that.
It was a
I don't see
conspiracy
the logic in that.
the Lakers because if we would have kept stacking up, I don't believe LBJ would have got that first one. If we would have faced and kept that team going the way we was going, wouldn't have been we would have ruled for the next few years. Can you imagine the free agents that could have came to Los Angeles had CP3 been there? Can you imagine the attraction that it would have been?
Says it right here.
Oh,
The Chris
y'all
Paul.
would have changed. Y'all would have changed a lot of. They would have changed a lot of history. They would have changed. Y'all would have changed a lot of history had that trade was able to go through.
It says here the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers was vetoed. I'm reading it from AI Overview. It was the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers was vetoed by then Commissioner David Stern because the NBA temporarily running the New Orleans Hornets, now Pelicans, and Stern wanted to ensure the franchise was valuable enough for a future sale. Other contributing factors included other NBA owners' pressure to prevent a disproportionate power imbalance and the belief that the Lakers trade package wasn't good enough compensation for a player of Paul's caliber.
Chris Paul, here's your chance. Come to death row.
You want him with the
Hey,
Lakers?
you want to check? Hey, look, we got. Hey,
Who
look,
are you willing to give up?
hey, look. Come, hey, they sent them home. Come to death row.
Oh, you want to give? Okay, give him a 1 year deal.
Give them a 1 year deal. Come to death row. We got a chance to win a championship this year. Come to death row.
He's gonna have to come off the bench, but I'm quite sure that's something that he will gladly
Come
handle.
to death
And what better
row.
way to do it to reunite with his former buddy and friend LeBron
Yeah.
James?
And hey, look, look. Hey, look. It's kind of like if y'all had a big
Why
time
you
show
trying?
at the
Well,
end.
you trying to do what Snoop did? You trying to convince Suge to bring Tupac to death row? That's what you trying to do right here.
Absolutely. Look, man, look. Your best friend. Look, I'm gonna just be real. It's kind of like me getting a job at ESPN. Who y'all think I'm finna call? I ain't even call nobody else. I'm finna say get on the phone and call PSP, BRF, and Flash. That's who I want. Especially if I got clout in that organization. If I had that Stephen A type of clout in ESPN, you know what I'm saying? Bring my boys to death row. So yeah, I'm if I'm LeBron, I'm campaigning not only for because this team is dangerous. Austin Reeves, Luca, LeBron. And guess what? The rotation of players are there. DeAndre Ayton, he's having a resurgence. Guess what? Let me see if I can bring my friend in for one last hurrah. And although it'll be a token ring, it's a ring nevertheless. I think that we have a chance to win. I'm not saying we're gonna win. I think we have a chance to win. We're second in the West right about now. We're second in the West. So we have a good chance to win. And Luca is playing out of his mind. Hey, it's
Not just
Batman.
Luca, Austin Reeves too.
Yes, it's Batman, Robin, and Alfred. So, hey, bring him in. Just kind of like how San Antonio, when they thought they were going to beat the Miami Heat, they brought in Tracy McGrady in order to bring him off the bench. Granted, he was a passenger on the ride, but guess what? They was able to bring him in. Guess what? See if you can bring your friend in. If you're LeBron, just like I would, if I had a chance to bring my friend in, we might be on the verge of something special this year with Luca and Austin Reeves and me taking a back step. Let me see if I can bring you in and get you a ring going out the door. And if I can do that, especially going up against some of these powerhouses in the West, guess what? That's the nail in the coffin. I get to go out with a ring being on the team that I should have been on in the first place. So if I'm Chris Paul, I'm calling my best friend and saying, "Hey, can you get me on the Lakers? Can you get me on that Laker team, even if I have to sit the bench?" And guess what? I hold people accountable in that organization. Why? Because guess what? You have a chance to do something special. You have a chance to not only dethrone, dethrone the Oklahoma City Thunder in the West, but you have a chance to not only bring another championship back to Los Angeles for the first time in 5 years since the bubble. But guess what? Number five for LeBron James. All of that goes into play. So if I'm Chris Paul, I'm calling my best friend and say, "Hey man, can you get me?" I come off the bench, do whatever I need to do, add some utility scoring, add some veteran leadership, but get me to death row.
All
I
right.
still got a couple of hits left.
All right. All right. That's what that's what Champ suggested right here. Um but fellas, let's get into it with the NFL picks. I'm sorry, with last night's NFL game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. Dallas Cowboys lost that one 44-30. Too many turnovers from the Dallas Cowboys. Dak a couple with the interceptions. I'm quite sure y'all saw George Pickens and Richard Sherman going back and forth with each other on social media. Unfortunately for the Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb couldn't finish the rest of that game due to a concussion. Hearts and prayers. Hopefully, he makes a speedy recovery. Um, I'm concerned with Dallas because again, their defense. Even though before they went on that 3-game winning streak, still their defense has been their Achilles heel. And Jerry Jones, as much criticism as I've given him, I listened to Emmanuel Acho, and Jerry has done his homework. You know, BRF stated, Trayvon Diggs, the most overrated player in football, and he's proven that so far. You know, Jerry took care of Deron Bland. Jerry got a lot of players in the draft. He also got Quentin Williams in the trade. He also got George Pickens in the trade. And he's done his part. Now I still believe Jerry is also the problem in Dallas because because of his ego and his mind. But one thing we cannot say regarding football decisions, Jerry doesn't know what he's doing. I can't accuse Jerry of that. I just think the Cowboys offense, it was too late for them to start clicking. Too many miscues that the Lions capitalized. I mean, the combination of both Sonic and Knuckles and Montgomery and Gibbs and Dallas' secondary, they're going to have problems because you still going to have to deal with the rest of that schedule. And if you actually go to the playoffs, you're not only going to deal with a Detroit team, you're going to have to deal with the Rams. Imagine you dealing with the Rams. Right now, they're still in the hunt trying to compete for the playoffs. But the problem is, if you look at the Dallas Cowboys, you look at their last, was it now 4 games? They're 6-6-1. Now, they got the Vikings next Sunday night. They should beat the Vikings. Then they go on the road to face the Commanders on Christmas Day. I expect them to beat the Commanders. I don't understand why they're putting in Jaden Daniels for the life of me. I've said it before, champ. I know you did the TikTok video. I told you. I told you. I told you. No business for him to be out on that football field. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Just sit him out for the remainder of the season. Get yourself a top pick and just move on and go forward. But once again, it's Washington. They can't help themselves. And what's even more embarrassing and disappointing is that we're in new ownership and they're taking a page out of the ownership's book, the previous ownership's book. But go figure. Then they got the Chargers on December the 21st, and they got the Giants to be determined. They better hope and pray that the Eagles fall off. And look, the Eagles, despite their record 8-4, you saw them lose back-to-back games in a short week against the Cowboys, in which they had a 21-point lead and blew it. They looked like the Philadelphia Falcons or the Atlanta Eagles based on that game. And then, of course, Chicago. 255 yards they allowed with young guy and also with DeAndre Swift. So BRF, I'll let you go first on this one. What were your thoughts on the game?
That game to me last night was just Detroit waking up again on the offensive side of the ball, particularly Jahmyr Gibbs. What is that now? Tom Barry Sanders. What was it, like 47 touchdowns?
Yes.
What before? 27 touchdowns before he turned 24. Like, just Jahmyr Gibbs is just insane, and I I don't like ragging on Trevon Diggs because I do think he's got talent. I'm not saying he's not a bad corner, but I feel like his 21 and Deron Bland's 23 are going to go down as like two of the most overrated seasons in the history of the National Football League because it's like they haven't been able to really build off of those seasons. And I mean, Deron Bland got his money and Trayvon Diggs got his, but I mean, it's like they're really good ball hawks. They can get the ball, but if you put them in a situation where they're on an island and they have to cover, they're not good. They're not good because they try to take too many chances and it eats them and it bites them in the butt every time. They want to go for the play instead of just necessarily. They want to go for the big play instead of just going for the safe play. They always want to go for picks, not necessarily pass defenses and knock the ball down. And a team with a good passing offense like the Detroit Lions are going to take advantage of that every single time when they're on their A game. There are very few offenses that are as scary as the Detroit Lions when they are rolling on all cylinders. And the Dallas Cowboys saw that firsthand last night. They couldn't do anything with them. They were able to put up 30, but I mean, honestly, at that point, the game was pretty much over. So that game was just a testament to the Detroit Lions getting back on track. And but I and it's not like the Cowboys haven't improved on defense. Their pass rush is a little better. They got DeMarvion Overshawn back. I mean, they were able to acquire Logan Wilson. They were able to acquire Quinn Williams. So I mean, it's not like they don't have guys that can get out that can't get after the quarterback. They have guys that can get after the quarterback now. But once you pass that front seven, that secondary is so suspect. Any good passing offense is going to light them up. And Detroit is one of the elites when it comes to the passing game. So they got a handful of that for 4 quarters. That Dallas secondary has to get better in terms of backing up that pass rush and being able to contain good passing offenses, especially if they get into the playoffs, because you're not going to deal with like just the chumps of the league. You're going to deal with the best. You're going to deal with the best passing offenses in the league. You're going to deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. You're going to deal with the LA Rams. You're going to deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers potentially in the playoffs. You're going to deal with the Detroit Lions. You're going to deal with really really good passing games in the NFC when it comes time to get to the playoffs. If you get there, and just I don't. The Dallas Cowboys to me are even if they get there, they just strike me as a one and done team because they can't do enough in the second. They're not going to be able to do enough in the secondary to contain really really good passing games, and just it's going to continue to bite them if they don't continually improve. And I think at this point, when you get to December, you are who you are as a football team. Teams are going to know who you are. They're going to know how to attack you, and they're going to. And teams, good passing offenses, are going to know to attack the Dallas Cowboys on the perimeter. And it shouldn't be like that. Your top two cornerbacks should be reliable to at least contain it a little bit, but that passing defense can't stop a nosebleed. They can't stop anything right now. So I don't know even if they get to the playoffs how effective as a team the Dallas Cowboys can be because they're gonna live and by that. They're gonna live and die by that offense. But if George Pickens, as good as he's been this year, is gonna have games like he did against Dallas, I mean against Detroit, where do you go? Where do you go as a Dallas Cowboy team? Where do you go? So last night, like I said, last night for me was just the same old, same old. The Dallas secondary getting lit up by a really, really good passing game. And for the NFC's sake, they better hope that the Detroit Lions didn't awaken after last night because I think the Detroit Lions are still one of those teams in the NFC come playoff time, they can travel and beat somebody on the road. They still have that type of talent on that team. So that was just a testament of Detroit waking up and reminding the world who they can be on any given Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whenever they play. That was just a reminder of how good the Detroit Lions can be.
Uh, Dallas. You are in trouble, my friend. Come to the principal's office. Let me highlight you for a second. Man, Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs. That is what happened when you build your career as a DB for being a gambler rather than just being a pure, rather than relying on your fundamentals. I believe that they got too caught up in the picks. DeRon Bland and Trayvon Diggs, they just got caught up in the picks. Even when they had those big years, they got burnt for 1,000 yards apiece.
2021, exactly with Diggs, champ.
Yes. So you led the league in picks, but at what cost? In the great words of Thanos, what did it cost? Everything. So, and I remember shout out to Trent, he called Deron Bland a pick six merchant, and rightfully so. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
even yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that because it was in the group chat during Thanksgiving time, and shout out to Shad, he was trying to make a case for Bland for defensive player of the year. I'm like, huh?
no, he's a pick. Trent, shout out to Trent. He is that dude. He, big time college football player, former basketball player. He was that dude when it came to athletics. So he recognized talent when he saw it. So he said it perfect. DeRon Bland was a pick six merchant. He's a pick six merchant. And those two are a prime example of what happens when you rely on the gamble of the game rather than relying on fundamentals and the basics of the game. And unfortunately, Jerry Jones played those two guys, and that's kind of the reason. And they one of the few reasons why this defense is behind the eight ball like they is right about now. They have a few pieces, but the back end is still struggling. The pass rush isn't as good. It's not as good as it was. It's not good as it needs to be in order to compensate for that back end being as bad as it is. They tried to make a comeback, but like you said, New Jersey genius George Chitlins, he played like Chitlins last night. So yeah, you can't have games like that if you're going to win.
Chitlins. I don't know about chitlins. More like shitlins.
Yeah, we gonna keep it clean tonight, George Chitlins. But we'll keep the bad stuff for the uncensored show. But Dallas, you got three winnable games coming up, and you got a test in the form of the San Diego Chargers. You got Minnesota coming up next week.
Los Angeles.
Well, yeah, them too. But you got the you got them too. You have the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers. Then you have the Washington Commanders, the Commanders, not the other name, and you have the Giants. So you have three very winnable games and a test. In the great words of the Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, you got to go out there and win the whole effing thing if you hope to have any validation and any hope of making the playoffs. And I think making the playoffs this year is just what Jerry Jones wants. It's enough to validate it. It's enough to say, hey, Jerry was right. This team can still be a playoff team without Michael Parsons. So you got a lot of work to do. You got a lot of work to do, Dallas. A lot of work. But unfortunately for y'all, I don't think you can get it done against the Chargers. I think that Chargers game is going to get you knocked out. But as far as the Detroit Lions, look, everybody thought that they was kind of dead in the water because of their record. But look, what do you feed sleeping giants? You feed them melatonin. You feed sleeping giants melatonin. And when you talk about Sonic and Knuckles, when you talk about Jared Goff, when you talk about Monroe St. Brown, and especially Aiden Hutchinson and some of the cornerstones of this defense, you feed them melatonin. You do not give them no dose and espresso coffees. You keep those sleeping giants sleep. And they may have woken up a sleeping giant when it comes to the Detroit Lions. And look, I shudder to think what's going to happen if the Detroit Lions can get fully healthy because they have a lot of injuries on this team. The offensive line is injured. Amon Ross St. Brown is injured. You have
And
one of the
unfortunately for them, they lost Branch. He's out for the rest of the season with the ruptured Achilles.
yeah.
Ooh, that hurts.
Fix that damn turf, NFL. Fix that damn turf. Oh, do something.
Champ. Not just that turf. You do realize I live in Jersey. What stadium do you know in Jersey? East Rutherford.
Uh,
MetLife.
the middle lane. Yeah, the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that is arguably the worst stadium to play at?
Yeah, and it's an outside stadium, so the grass should be easy to kind of keep up, even in the wintertime. A
But
little
the
more.
thing is, but the thing is, to your point, Jim, if you're doing indoors, fine. Because again, and I don't like all these new stadiums and stuff indoors. To me, I don't like that. because I do believe you got to play football and outside in different circumstances. That's a testament to how good or great of a football player you are. But if you're gonna do it indoors, change the go the natural grass. Why still go with turf? I don't understand when science and evidence shows that turf is way worse to play with than actual grass. I don't understand that.
because of speed. Speed, hey, that turf lets you get that speed. That's the reason why a lot of teams look. There was a reason why the greatest show on turf was the greatest show on turf, and they were the greatest show on turf because of the turf. That turf gives you a lot of speed. You don't got to go through the rough patches of the grass. You don't have to figure out which patch to go through and which side to line up on. And the real reason why a lot of these stadiums are going to indoor stadium is because of business. You can't host and you can't host in a football stadium a boxing match or a Chris Brown concert or a reunion concert in the wintertime with these outside stadiums. There's no heaters in there. And you want the ambiance. Look, it's all look, and I can say this because this is kid friendly, but people don't do stuff for people don't do stuff just because anymore. They want an experience. Going to a basketball game, going to Yankee Stadium, going to these places is kind of like going to theme parks and going to clubs at a certain point. The people want to go to these stadiums and get VIP treatment. They want to be able to sit in the luxury suites. They want to be able to do those type of things. And you can't do those necessarily in outdoor stadiums, especially in the wintertime. You know, we get in the summer in the fall, that's fine. But once you get to the wintertime and you in a cold ass stadium, excuse me, you're in a very, very cold stadium, then guess what? You can't hold these concerts like Chris Brown and stuff like that that are going to be that are going to bring a lot of revenue to the city if you have these
Then my
outdoor
thing
stadiums.
is, champ, then do it around in the spring or the summertime as opposed to doing it now. Because the thing is, you're gonna also piss off the diehard football fans. And I understand that the NFL, to your point, they're doing it because of business. They're doing it to make money and stuff. But at the same time, look, my thing is, look, Tennessee, they're about to move to a new stadium. They're about to have a new indoor stadium. You look at Washington; they're about to have their old new stadium. It's now about to be in
RFK or the old
RFK
RFK.
in DC, and that's beautiful because again, glad to be back in DC. Sorry, that was kind of weird, but either way. But my thing is, champ, I just think too much change is unnecessary. I understand some changes here and there, but I think too much change is kind of unnecessary here and there.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's all about business at this point. Like I stated,
But
I
not,
go to
but not
football
business,
games.
but not all business is good business, though, champ.
All business is good business when you run an NFL team because the thing is, that's how Jerry got rich by making Cowboy Stadium a happening rather than just a football stadium. You want your stadium to be more than just a stadium. It's a happening. Like I stated, we don't go out to eat no more just to go out to eat. You go out to eat for the experience. We don't go to the club no more just to go to the club and sit by the DJ booth and hang out with the DJ. Everybody goes to the club for the experience now. Now, especially the younger generation, and I applaud them for it, you want an experience. So guess what? When you go to these new theme park stadiums, guess what? You want to have an experience there, not just because of the football game. I go because I want to go to the football game. I love the Falcons. I want to see them. I love the Braves. I want to see them. Although I hide it, I have been to quite a few Hawks games. Matter of fact, I've been to more Hawks games than I have the Falcons. Yes. But the thing is, I've been going to Hawks games since I was 12 years old. But the thing is, as things evolve, they want an experience now. You want to be able to go and sit in these luxury boxes. You want to be able to go and feel like that you're going to the club. You want to be able to feel like you're a baller, although you ain't got that much money. Hey, a lot of these luxury tickets that these teams are selling, depending on what team that you're playing, a lot of these luxury seats are only $250. For $250, you can get a luxury like experience And guess what? It's all you can eat. Yeah, all you can eat, all you can drink. You get to stand on the sideline. You get to see the players as they coming in. And guess what? It's an experience and a happening. So that's how come they're trying to build these new stadiums and build them like theme parks because people want an experience, not just the ball game. And when you are, it's kind of like when we evolve. It's kind of like when we evolve. When you are a brand, you're not just a brand, you're an experience. And it's just like when we start going into stadiums and stuff like that, then guess what? When we start going in, when we start going into stadiums and stuff like that, then guess what? Everybody wants to not only just watch the Sports PSP podcast or the Undisputed GOAT podcast, they
I
want
get
to experience it.
I get that part, champ, but not everyone's gonna feel that way, champ. And unfortunately, and I'm like with some old school teams, like with the Packers. I understand the glimmery and the glamour, but for me, I just rather just go. I don't know. I'm just more old school. Maybe I just have more of an old school mentality with it because I don't like too much change. I understand, yeah, for the for the casual fans that are not really interested in the football game and the atmosphere, but at the same time, you got to do that if you start winning. You got to also start doing that. Not everyone's going to be like the Dallas Cowboys, champ, where they go from 1989 to all of a sudden 14, $15 billion. I understand the revenue. I understand they're trying to market and trying to get fans. But at the end of the day, it's more than just the atmosphere. And I also want to see how players play in difficult circumstances, as far as like the snow, the rain, that type of stuff. Because I mean, I just look at it from a true fan standpoint because I want
Yeah.
to see how greatness is on and inside and outside the football field. I'm tired of doing it just indoors. I mean, if you want to do it in the Super Bowl stage, I understand that part. But in tight circumstances, games on the line, like you saw the Bills, the Chiefs game, or 2 plus decades ago, the Tuck Rule game between the Patriots and the Raiders. I want to see those types of old school games as well, champ. And if you continuously go with the glamour and prettiness, then guess what? You're also turning down another demographic, which is the die-hard football fans. Yes, I understand you want to attract and market to the casual fans, the ones who don't really care that much about football, but don't alienate the true fans who spend their hard-earned money too. So
Yeah.
there's got to be
And
a balance.
yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. But the thing is, like I said, it's a new generation. And if you're a hardcore fan, you're not going to be swayed by stadiums because I'm just being real. I wanted us to stay in the Georgia Dome. I wanted us to stay. And if you really want me to be honest with you, I don't think we should have left Fulton County Stadium. BRF, you remember that stadium, Fulton County Stadium, that outdoor stadium? It was cold as hell in the wintertime. So,
Yeah, I've been to my fair. I went to my fair share of games at Fulton County Stadium. I definitely enjoyed the experience
yeah,
of Fulton County Stadium. But you know what?
yeah,
This is what I'll say. I feel like I feel like these stadiums were going to evolve one way or another. I felt like the experience was going to shift out more than just necessarily being on the field, being in the stands, but like just like with Truist, with the Battery, and then other places like that. That they it was going to expand. It was bound to happen. It's up to the team, it's up to the franchise in order to make the full experience worthwhile, as far as still being able to ultimately, the point of going to the stadium is to enjoy the game. So it's up to the team and the franchise at the end of the day to still make the experience of just watching the game fun. And like you see in like the concessions, you see places like Mercedes Benz making their concessions and their food like one of the, as far as like cheapness, one of the more affordable sets of concessions in the league. I just still think it's up to the franchise. The franchise can still dictate that as far as the experience of the game, and not just the stadium. It's all in presentation and how they make it work. Because I mean, I've never been to a game in Truist. I've never been to a game in Mercedes Benz. Heck, I've never been to a Falcons game. Period. I've never been to one, period, and that's something that's something I want to change. And hopefully I'll get a chance to experience Mercedes Benz. I do still think ultimately it's just up to the franchise and how they're able to make their presentation work and still allow for those that love the game go to the stadium and enjoy the game, but at the same time, take in this, take in the scenery, take in the sights, enjoy the games, meet players and coaches and other parts of like personnel and the staff and things like that. So I think it's still up to that team to be able to. I'm a kind of with I'm a PSP. I like the teams need to be able to find that balance, and like I just think it's up to them in order to just really dictate it and find that. Some places I think are better than others, but honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like they have to be able to make it so at the end of the day, we're not just doing everything except enjoying the game. Because ultimately, if you're paying your hard-earned money and you're getting these tickets, you're ultimately going to watch your team and watch that game. So that's kind of me, kind of putting my opinions out there.
Yeah.
Champ, I understand if you're talking about big markets like Dallas, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and other teams, but I'm talking about for other small or low market teams. Like with Green Bay, you'll probably never see Green Bay in an indoor stadium because of their diehard fans. You look at some other low market franchise, Chicago's probably going to put in an indoor stadium. They're probably going to do that. Cleveland, I think, are they probably going to do that? They may probably consider doing it.
Yeah.
But my thing is, Champ, not every change is necessary. Even though you want to do it for business and marketing and make the NFL a lot more money, but still in all, you don't also want to die or alienate the diehard football fans. And if
I
you
don't
make
think
it
the time. Oh,
too
my bad. I'm sorry.
modern, huh?
My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. If all I'm just saying is if you do too much of it, then guess what? You're just gonna turn off the diehard football fans. And even though the NFL may say, "Yeah, we don't care," but at the end of the day, we're still making money. It's still part of business. Is how the way it goes. But if you do too much of something, then guess what? And if you're gonna do indoor games, fine. Can you at least do grass? Because the evidence shows that even though you say turf is great for players regarding speed, but you see the injuries.
Yeah. It was the same way in Veteran Stadium. Everybody remember Veteran Stadium. That was the most raggediest stadium that you probably ever going to see. Veteran
Oh,
Stadium. That was
I hated Veteran Stadium. I hated it with a passion. I hated it with a passion. I've never in my life seen a stadium where it was like you would get pregame reports of just like like they literally didn't play. I think it was that Ravens game when the Ravens came to ball when they played the Eagles. They literally didn't play that game because of how bad the freaking turf was. Like I've never seen a stadium just that bad of presenting turf and field. Veteran Stadium was, man, like good lord.
was a wreck. But there's look, I understand. Look, business part, there's so much. Even as a hardcore football fan, I love football. But even as a hardcore fan, I understand how everything is changing. You have to change your business model to not just fit the hardcore fan. Like I stated, fans like myself, we're going to watch the game regardless. We may not like a few aspects of it, but guess what? We're still going to watch it, especially if our team is great. And look, a lot of fans, guess what? They're probably going to be happy to get a new stadium, especially if you're a team like Cleveland that hasn't had one. If you a team that hasn't had one in a number of years, and look, let's just be real. There's so many aspects to this game now, as far as television, as far as social media goes, as far as a little bit of everything. You don't watch everybody doesn't watch the game just to watch the game. You have the hardcore fans like myself who's always going to be there. Guess what? It's kind of like WCW used to say, the late great Dusty Rhodes, tradition. The traditional fan is always going to be there no matter what, unless the game gets so far removed from its origin that it's a shame. We're going to always be here. They're worried about the casual fan who's worried about the glamour part of everything. That's worried about the wags of the game, the social media aspect. Everybody's talking about the wags now, the wives and the girlfriends of the game. You're thinking about the social media. You're thinking about the experience of hey, how's it gonna feel? How would it feel to take my girlfriend or whoever to this game and have them experience that game? A lot of people do not want to just go to the game. I want to go to the game just to go. When I sat in the nosebleed section for the first time at an Atlanta Falcons game at the Georgia Dome, I felt good because I am a hardcore fan. I didn't care about champagne. I didn't care about drinking Grey Goose. I didn't care about taking pictures. I didn't care about liquor. I didn't care about any of that. The fact, the only thing that I cared about when I went to that very, very first game that I went to is seeing Matt Ryan try to beat Cam Newton in that last game. That's what I cared about. But you got to think about this: the casual fans is out here now more than ever. Social media influence is out more than ever. Everybody want to see the wags. Everybody want to see the stars. They're trying to make the game more of a happening now more than anything, and it generates revenue as well. So the hardcore fan, unless the game itself gets so far removed from its origin that it's a shame, like if it goes from, if everything is being called a penalty all of a sudden, then guess what? That's going to turn the fans, the hardcore fans away. I don't think that the stadium will ever turn and the experience will ever turn the hardcore fans away. I think that if the game changes to the point where it's so soft that it's no longer football, that will be the only thing that turn hardcore fans like me away. But as far as stadiums go, guess what? There's nothing that you can do in order to turn those hardcore fans away. What they're focusing on is making it seem more like an experience, not just for the hardcore fan, but for friends, but for family, but for people who business people who are trying to come in and watch a game. Like I said, the WAGs, the wives and girlfriends of the ballers, you know,
Yeah,
social
I'm get me the hell away from that shit.
Hey man, you don't like the WAGs?
No, champ. If
You
champ,
don't
if
like
I want to, champ, if I want to go to a sporting event, I just want to go and watch the game. I'm just like you. I just don't want to get involved in the bullshit. I just rather watch the game, see the game, go to myself, just watch the game to myself. I don't want to get involved in any predicaments and shit. And even though people just, and I get to your point, champ, people just doing it because obviously entertainment, social media, the marketing and stuff like that. But sometimes I just don't feel like it's necessary. I understand from the standpoint of money, but not all money is good money. And besides, it what does it do as far as helping the NFL as far as trying to understand the sport, learn the sport of football? I mean, if you're getting the NFL to pay attention for a different reason, yeah, okay, you get your ratings, you get your money and all that stuff, but still, I'm
you
trying to
know
teach. No, no, champ. I'm trying to teach people the sport of football. Somebody that is actually passionate or trying to understand football. How's how does the new stadiums help them? How does seeing reality stars or the baby mamas and all that stuff in the stadiums? I ain't trying to get involved in that type of nonsense. I just want to watch the game to myself. I don't want to be involved in any that shit. Well, that's you with them big
no,
ass eyes of
no, I'm
yours. You
just
want to get
bringing up a
involved.
valid point. A lot of people want to see the WAGs. Everybody want to see the reality star. What celebrities going to be at the games and stuff like that?
If I'm gonna go,
The
if I'm
Lakers have been
interested
doing
in
it for
seeing the
years.
Wags champ, I'm interested in seeing them at a club right after the game. Do that. I'm interested in seeing them after the clubs at the Magic City or something like that. Not during the football game. I'm more psyched. I'm more tuned in and watching the game because I want to see what type of player that I'm going to see. I want to see what type of young player that may not get to shine or recognition like any noticeable player. I want to cover the stories. That's what I love. I'm just looking at it from an old school type of way. You as yourself as a journalist, you love not just covering the sports, not just covering the opponents, the marquee players, but what about some of the other players that don't get to shine or don't get the recognition?
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing those types of stories as well. That's how I look at it. Yes, I understand to your point with the atmosphere and stuff like that, but the atmosphere will only happen, the brand will only succeed if the product is great. Even if the Tennessee Titans they come up with the new stadium, and yes, it may be great and stuff, still was it conducive to winning? I'm more interested in winning. I'm more interested in putting on a great show. That way, if I put on a great show as far as with the product, then guess what? I can put in the atmosphere. Atlanta, no matter how great the Mercedes-Benz Super Stadium has been for y'all, tell me what has it done for the Atlanta Falcons as far as winning?
No, like I stated, me as a hardcore fan, I miss Fulton County Stadium. I really do miss Fulton County Stadium. I really wish they would have built an outdoor dome. But that's me, outdoor stadium, excuse me, not an outdoor dome. What the world am I saying? But that's me being selfish as a fan within itself. That's just me saying, look, football, football, football. But at the same time, man, it's bigger than just the sport now. It's about a little bit of everything. And look, unfortunately, we're no longer in the sports business. We're in the story business at this point. And everybody's looking for that one big story. Me, you, BRF, we're pure journalists. We focus on all the good stuff when it comes to sport. It's football, 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 basketball, basketball, basketball. And even look, even to our credit, when we're covering the WNBA, we don't get into all the bull junk that goes along with it as far as the drama is concerned. We don't
That's
get
my,
into all of that.
but that's my point, champ. I just feel like I just want to talk about the sport, just the sport itself. Like you mentioned, the great example with the WNBA. I don't want to talk about Angel Reese's outfits. I don't want to talk about the style, the fashion, anything like that. I want to talk about the game and game itself. And if we keep talking about something else, then what does it do as far as with the WNBA in terms of making the money? Now, the NFL, that's a different, entirely different beat because it's worth a ton of money, billions of dollars, $1 billion corporation. But at the same time, even with these new stadiums and stuff like that, am I still gonna go to the football games just to watch the football games? Yeah, that's me. But at the same time, with them wags, I just don't want to get involved in no bullshit. That's just me.
I look, I didn't know what WAGs was until like 3 weeks ago. I'm just gonna be real, real honest with you. I'm like, what the hell is the WAGs? Did you see the no? Because one of my homegirls was saying that shit. I was like, hey, champ, did you see the WAGs? I'm like, the WAGs. I'm like, that ain't what that's me being ignorant, you know what I'm saying? Me being this southern guy. Hey man, I'm like, what WAGs? I don't see no WAGs on this field. I'm like, what you talking? She's like, no, 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 the wives and the girlfriends. I'm like, I don't pay attention to that shit. She was like, why don't you talk about it sometimes and look into it? I'm like, I looked into it. And she was like, that's why a lot more women are paying attention because of the wags and shit like that. They're bringing the fashion to the league and stuff like that. Remember, the fullback of the San Francisco 49ers, his wife is like a fashion connoisseur right about now. She's doing a lot of fashion.
Kyle Juszczyk.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know how to say his name, but
Use
yeah.
check.
So
Yeah.
a lot
But
of a lot of social media and a lot of experiences are coming along with it. Like I stated, we don't look, we watch the game for the game. We watch the game for the game. We don't watch the game for all the nonsense. Like I stated, and I use the WNBA as a prime example where we was covering on both shows, on both this show and the uncensored show. When we talk about it, we talk about it in a sense of this is a sport. This is this is how it's supposed to be. This is how everything needs to be.
yeah,
I
but
like how we're
also,
the uncensored show now. I
but
like how
champ,
we're the. I like how the undisputed goat show is the undisputed is uncensored.
but champ,
Yeah,
here's why I don't like it with the wag situation because again, it implies, because there are gonna be people out there on social media that are gonna apply and insinuate, oh, it's just women getting into trifling stuff, and I don't want to like generalize, especially with black women, because
that's
I don't want women to be labeled or associated with that type of stuff. Damn, too much noise in the background. No, well,
This is what happens. This is what happens when you live with a family. This is what happens when you live with a family. I try to keep it muted, but I can't always keep it muted because I got to talk. But it's like what happens when you live with the family.
Don't worry, BRF. I'll see what I can do as far as getting you some noise canceling headphones. Just give me some
we
time and I'll
Mm.
work with that.
we gonna get you squared away. Big trust.
But champ, here's why I
Nah, I
don't like
appreciate
it.
y'all, bro.
No problem. But champ, here's why I don't like it. Like when I want to hear like women talk about the sports, I want to hear like the great women who covered the sports, like Mina Kimes or Pam Oliver or stuff like that. I just don't want to. The reason why I don't want to get involved with the WAG stuff because I'm afraid it's going to interfere with someone else's fun or love for the game, and I just feel like it's going to take away the story from a football game or some great moment. And I just don't want to get involved into some petty nonsense and stuff like that. I understand to your standpoint, champ, from your standpoint, as far as the business, marketing, obviously, we're in a different time now, the younger generation and stuff like that. But at the same time, I do think there has to be more balance. And as far as
Mm.
with the competition, especially come postseason time, you mean to tell me you wouldn't mind seeing a playoff game out in the cold in the snow or something like that? I
I
would
want to go
love
to
that.
one. I want to go to one day in the snow, in the elements, just to see what the players are feeling. Like I stated, Fulton County Stadium was one of those stadiums where you got to experience that weather. Where if someone had to come there, then guess what? It was a home field advantage. Buffalo is one of those stadiums. If somebody comes there, it's a home field advantage. Green Bay, for many years, they didn't lose a home game for 50 years when it came to home field. But
Until your Falcons in
yeah,
2002 with Michael Vick.
yes, indeed. So when we went up there and upset them, and that home field advantage ain't been the same since. So, like I stated, me as a selfish fan, I get it. I want to watch that game. But, you know, when you talk about different elements, like I said, I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of people around, and guess what? They talk to me about different stuff and different aspects of the game. Got a phone call the other night, well, last night when I was watching the games, it was like, hey, do they ever show the wags? I'm like, well, no, you got to go to social media. That was when I found out. Say, go to social media and go here, here, here. And that's how come I know a lot of this stuff. Because like I said, few of my friends, some of my sisters, they talk about the wags and what the hell they doing. I'm like, all right. But that's just, hey, look, I didn't write the script. I'm just playing my part.
Your
But the thing,
girlfriends, your girlfriends, not girlfriends, girls, your friends who are girls, they probably had to inform you of that type of stuff. I find it
they
hard.
had to,
No,
because I didn't know what they was talking about. They was like, "Hey, don't no," because I'm like, when they said wags, I thought they was talking about some shit on the field. Like, hey, did you see the wags on the field yesterday, right before the
I
game on social
find it
media?
hard to
I'm
believe.
like, what?
I find it hard to believe because my mama is sending me this stuff about this type of stuff as we speaking. Mama Champ would not be sending you this type of stuff.
No, look, my mom is an old school mom. She in the church, stuff like that. My mom ain't with all that. She watched reality TV. My mom's she's a Southern. She's true to being Southern. She's a church going woman. She's retired. That's what she does. She watches reality TV, but she ain't on that hot girl summer shit. That's just being real. She ain't walking around here going to the club.
I
I
know
look,
why you want to watch the Wags. That's you want to watch the Wags because
no, like I stated, I
no,
never knew
but
what it was until like
you
3 weeks ago. And then
I,
that's when one of my
yeah, but you
homegirls,
can't help the fact that they fine though.
they find, look, man, look, who's not gonna look at eye candy, man? Just gonna be real. But when she informed me about that, and I'm like, she was like, why don't you talk about the wag sometime? I'm like, no, I ain't doing all that, but I'll let you know when I see some stuff. But yeah, but either ask to be on the show. Can I talk about the wags? Like, no, we're not doing that. But
Let me ask you
no.
this question: if Nikita Lyons actually walked into a football field, football stadium, you ain't gonna cover that?
Oh hell yeah, the camera going straight to Nikki and a lot of other things. But but no, but the thing is, it's gonna go to her temporarily. But at the end of the day, I want to watch that football game. But like I stated, it's more to it than just a hardcore fan. The
Yes.
hardcore fan, we gonna always go to the game, especially the NFL being as affordable as it is now. It's not pricing itself out of range. The only way it prices itself out of range is when you get those luxury boxes. And even with those luxury boxes, they're affordable because you're gonna have like 15, 20 people in there.
Yeah,
If you pay ten
that's
thousand,
fair.
if your team playing a sorry team and you get $10,000 in order to get a luxury suite, guess what? If 20 people are in there, guess what? Hey, you got yourself a deal, and it's affordable. But yeah, there's more to it now than just the stadium. Hell, it hasn't been about football since Al Davis wanted to build a new stadium. The main reason that Al Davis wanted to build a new stadium was because of luxury boxes and luxury suites. And that was to bring in all the big time business people. That was to bring in all of the families that didn't want to sit with everybody else. That was to bring in all the luxury food, the chefs and stuff like that, so you could charge a little bit more. So it hasn't been everybody wanted to get the experience even back then. That's the reason why Al Davis wanted to build the original stadium. Now, with the advent of Wi-Fi, with bottle service, with it, if you look at the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders stadium, and if you look at, let's say, go to the Washington Wizards luxury suites. If you look at that, it's like bottle service. It's like bottle service sitting courtside. If you go there, it's just like that. So everybody's looking for that one big experience that you can say, I experienced this and nobody else did. Like I stated, we're not just looking for the game, we're looking for experience. I just want to watch the game just like you want to. If we went to a Giants game, man, let's just watch this game. Let's toss back a few beers, let's eat some popcorn, and let's watch Bijan Robinson run this ball, and watch Jaden Daniels. Let's just see them go back and forth. That's what we want to see. But the casual fan, people like my homegirls and stuff like that, they want to see the wags. They want to see, the swagger. They want to see the fashion.
That's why I'm not taking them to no sporting event, because I ain't getting involved in no bullshit.
Look, take them to go see the wags, man. Take them to go see.
No,
them.
no, 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 hell,
no. Take them to go see the wags.
No. I don't want to hear nothing about that type of shit. Now, if they want to go to a Chris Brown concert at a football arena or stadium, be my guest. I just want to be alone. I just want to be alone with the fellas. That's it. I'm not trying to get involved in look at this, look at the Louis Vuitton. I'm like, man, fuck out of here. I'm trying to watch the football game and shit. Man, fuck that Louis Vuitton. I mean, damn, I feel like Mike Tyson right now when they starting to play thong song. That's exactly how I don't like thong song.
I don't like thong song. Cut out the thong song. Cut out thong song.
I'm just being real, man. I'm just being real. That's what some of the homegirls they be wanting to see. They be wanting to see the wags and shit like that, man. Look, it was like, when the next time you go into the game? I'm like, I ain't telling your ass, but that's just
look, if you want to go see the wags, then why don't you just go watch the Kardashians or the Real Housewives of Atlanta? Don't be getting involved.
See, they say wags. My smart ass be like, oh, you want to go see the wags? You got a group of dogs over there. Go watch the tail wag. That's about it. That's all you gonna see. What? I'm just saying. You want to go see some wagon. There's a group. There's a pit. There's a group of dogs over there. Go watch. You know what I'm saying. Westminster Kennels dog show. Go watch that. You want to see some wags. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying.
All right. Let's move on, because apparently we turn into Sports PSP podcast, so all of a sudden loving hip hop.
Chuck got to look like Roger. How could you?
You talking about my eyes, champ? You talking about my eyes?
I had to calm the foolishness down a little bit. Sometimes to calm the foolishness down, you got to bring some more in to understand how kind of foolish it is a little bit. So hopefully, everything kind of get back on track a little bit. I'm just saying.
I am totally astounded right now. This is crazy. I mean, this is great content. It's gonna make us some great content. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Champ's already the love chocolate for a reason to a lot of these women. Now they're gonna make him the love chocolate 3 times.
BRF, we're gonna have a meeting on Sunday before the show.
There was nothing explicit about that at all. I just kind of had to burst it out a little bit. There was nothing explicit about that one.
All right, fellas. Let's move on to our NFL picks. Let's try to keep it real short and quick. Unfortunately, I've been trying to tell the Commanders for far too long to bench Jaden Daniels, but apparently they don't want to do that. They're gonna let him play. They play in Minnesota. Minnesota actually is a 1.5 point underdog. I don't understand it. I've said it before. Sit him out for the remainder of the season. They already out of playoff contention anyway. I don't understand. Marcus Mariota played well in that game against the Denver Broncos. He's been playing okay so far at this point. I don't understand it. You want to risk, you want to jeopardize Jaden Daniels' future? Be my guest. We're going to have to start scratch. And again, I'm not wishing injury. I want to make it abundantly clear. I'm not wishing injury upon Jaden Daniels. And I understand Jaden Daniels wants to play because of the competitive standpoint. But at the same time, Washington, this is your investment. You drafted him with the number 2 overall pick. You want him to play, knowing the fact that he's had 3 injuries, a sprained knee, a hamstring, and a dislocated elbow. You saw what happened in that game against the Seattle game. No, shut him down for the remainder of the season, but you want to do things your way. All right. I go with Minnesota.
Washington. A hard head make a soft. You know what? All right, guys. A hard head make a soft. You know what? Sit Jaden Daniels down. Do not, because you're gonna get that kid hurt, and the fans are gonna be looking at you like you crazy. All right.
Crazy? You mean insane?
I'm being kind. I'm trying to
No,
be.
I'm the hell with that. Now, I know Christmas is around that type of time, but then all of that. You put Jaden Daniels' health in jeopardy, it's gonna come bite you if you
Yeah.
Washington.
Take him out that game. Look, you got a chance to get a top 10 pick, maybe even get. I think they've won like 3 games this year.
3.
Okay, so you have a chance to go ahead and look. Even if you don't get the first overall pick, you get a top 10 pick. That could possibly get you some draft capital in order for you to help the team. So do what you need to do, and hey, stop playing games. In the great words of 8 Ball and MJG, stop playing games, yo, and get it together, Washington. You don't want to get your franchise player hurt. You don't want to get your franchise player hurt. And I'm not. Hey, I'm a Jaden Daniels fan, and I don't want to see him get hurt, man. Don't trot him out there. His enough. You have no chance to make it to the playoff. That is. It's kind of like spending. It's kind of like going to the casino gambling your rent money. It's kind of like going to the casino, gambling your rent money. Walking Jada Daniels out there, and you have no chance to make the playoffs. On that note, Minnesota.
BRF.
Washington has nothing to gain playing Jaden Daniels. I mean, I might as well make it unanimous as far as that viewpoint is concerned. They have absolutely nothing to gain with letting him play. I mean, it's almost kind of like comparing another situation like, with the Cleveland Browns, clearing Deshaun Watson to practice. And I'm just like, what's the point? I mean, it's no point of letting Jaden Daniels play any of these games for the rest of the season. You're not going to make the playoffs. You have nothing really to gain here. Some people are going to say, oh, well, he needs the reps and da. Like, no, he doesn't. This man was literally offensive rookie of the year last year. He's a proven player. He got nothing to prove. Sit him out the rest of the year. Let him get healthy. Just kind of reevaluate the team, what you need to get better at, what you need to improve on. They have no reason. They gain nothing playing him. With that being said, as crazy as this sounds, I think Washington should win this game. I think Washington should win this game. I don't trust JJ. I don't trust the Minnesota quarterback situation at all. And I mean, Washington, I feel like on offense at least has the camaraderie on offense. They should be able to do something versus Minnesota. I think Washington should win this game.
I just don't understand why they're allowing Jaden Daniels to play, and given the fact that this is Brian Flores' defense we are talking about here. That I don't
I mean,
understand.
you got a point. You definitely have a point there with Brian Flores' defense, but I feel like Washington, with having him back out there, I think they're going to try to control tempo a little bit here. That means they're going to run the ball. Chris Rodriguez, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt.
Merit.
I think I think they're going to try to control tempo with their running game. and not allow Jaden Daniels to throw like 30, 40 times. I think they're going to try to be smart with it and keep the ball out of his hands in terms of throwing the ball.
A game
So
manager,
I
basically.
I think you kind of I think that's what best case scenario, if I'm Dan Quinn and I'm Kingsbury, I control the tempo with the running game. I don't let Jaden Daniels go out there and try to be a gunslinger. You have to be, if you're going to play him, be smart. Don't have him throw the ball like 40 times and risk him being in the pocket and risking those Minnesota guys to come out there and just lay one on him and knock him out. So I think you have to control tempo here. That's why I think Washington's going to win, because I think they're actually going to be able to, because I don't trust the quarterback situation in Minnesota, regardless of who plays.
Shout out to Sports Guy Talking. Please go make sure you like and subscribe to his content. BRF will try to see if we can get the big fella back on. Dolphins at Jets.
Hmm. This one's tough for me. I because against the Falcons, I like how the Jets offense looked. I liked how Tyrod Taylor looks. I liked how Adonai Mitchell looked. He looks he act. I mean, how often do you see a player join the Jets and look better? I like what I saw from AD Mitchell Sunday. I think that combination of him and Garrett Wilson, I think should do can do something. I like what I saw from the Jets. With that being said, though, I think I got to roll with Miami here, just because they're playing they're playing with they're playing with a lot more focus. They're playing for Mike McDaniel. You see the confidence with the Miami Dolphins growing. I don't think this is going to be a real high scoring game, but I am gonna pick the Miami Dolphins to win this game.
I have Dolphins champ.
Do I want to be different? Should I be different? I don't want to be different. Miami, bring it home. You still in playoff contention, by the way.
Which is
Undisputed.
crazy.
Yeah. And look, is it just me or they playing a little bit better without Tyreek Hill? Don't know.
I don't know about that, champ. No, champ. Did you see Tua play last week against the Saints? It looked like he almost threw 4 interceptions.
Well, as a team, they've been doing better since he
As a
left.
team, but I'm talking about Tua individually.
Well, turn the ball over. I'm not expecting too much of him. I'm just because look. Remember what I said last week on? I think it was a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about fashion on the pod. Remember what I said? Just because it's expensive don't mean don't mean it's sharp. That's exactly what that implies for Tua to turn the ball over. He expensive, but he ain't sharp. So yeah.
But collectively,
He
the team
expect.
has been playing well, though, and you gotta
I
look
like
at
I
it
like
with
that.
and look, just hand the ball off to Devon A-Chain. Just hand the ball off to him. Tua, you just hope that he doesn't make any mistakes. Mike McDaniel, but the problem is with Miami, okay, they in playoff contention. If they make the playoffs, are they going to keep Mike McDaniel? Because they already fired the GM, Chris Greer, and Mike McDaniel at one point, there was the discussion about him being fired, and we thought, Champ and I, that was the final straw for him in Cleveland after that embarrassing loss on the road. But it seems like to me they're winning. They want to do it for him. But hey, only time will tell. Another interesting game, Steelers at Ravens.
Hmm.
Uncle
Baltimore is a
Lamar.
6-point favorite. I'm going to go Baltimore because their offense so lackluster, Pittsburgh's. Um, except Big Darnell Washington. No one wants to tackle him, man. I mean, he's like a bowling ball whenever defensive players run into him. Lamar's got to play better. He hasn't been playing well since that injury, but I do trust him in this game. And I think the Ravens defense has been playing much better since early on in the season. I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think if Lamar, don't ask him to throw the ball 20 times, 30 times, ask him to throw at least 20, 22 times. Derrick Henry run the football as well. But But the defense from Baltimore, you should do something because let's not act as if Pittsburgh's offense is going to light you out.
Hey, look, it's like throwing buckets. It's like throwing sodas in coolers at this point. That's how bored that offense is. And look, man, let's just keep it clear, man. Baltimore's offense hasn't been better. They have been straight out buns as of lately. So over 8 turnovers in the last 3 games. So this is going to be a very interesting game, man. I believe it's going to decide the fate of both teams. I believe if Pittsburgh wins, it's just a tale of two teams that's not going anywhere fast. I believe that if Pittsburgh win, they're going to finish out the season with this mediocre type of way, and they're going to be out of the playoffs the minute that they get in. It's kind of like Homer's granddad. They're gonna step right in the bar, grab their head, and walk right out. So either way, both these two teams are doomed anyway. If you really want me to be honest with you, and like I stated, it's just a case of how doomed that they are. Like I said, Lamar has been playing like buns. The defense is bad. The great words of Lionel Richard, everything seems to be going wrong, and that's just both teams. Let's just see who gonna suck worse. And but I believe the Baltimore Ravens, Uncle Lamar. If there was ever a time you need to turn up, turn down for what? The time is now.
BRF.
Oh man. I think I think you have to go with the team that's kind of been trending a little more upwards, which has been Baltimore. Granted, Cincinnati did kind of give them a little bit of that reality check, having Joe Burrow back. Lamar just hasn't been playing focus ball, turning the ball over a lot, not making passes like he normally does. I mean, Lamar over the last 3 4 years, I mean, he's normally like a 66, hovering around that 70% completion percentage in terms of his passing. And yeah, I know he's been hurt, but I mean, even still, like he's not he's not himself. Um, and the thing is that Pittsburgh defense, for some reason, no matter how the Baltimore Ravens are playing, they've always been kind of like an Achilles heel, like a kryptonite to Lamar in terms of their style of defense and the way they're able to rush the passer and the speed that they have on defense. But with that being said, I don't trust this form of Aaron Rodgers. I just don't. I don't. I I I, I trust this Lamar. I trust this Lamar Jackson more than this Aaron Rodgers, and I am for that reason and that reason alone, I am picking the Baltimore Ravens to win this game.
Saints at Bucks.
The yucks.
All
Tampa
right.
should Tampa should win this going away.
Colts at Jaguars.
Mm.
Indy is a 1.5 point favorite. Daniel Jones is still playing with, keep in mind, folks, a fractured fibula. They didn't listen to what I said. They should hand the ball off more to Jonathan Taylor, but they didn't do that. Um, I'm gonna go with the Colts on this one because I'm still not sure with Jacksonville. I haven't been impressed with them so far. I think sooner or later, I would not be surprised if Houston takes over the AFC South, especially how the way they've been playing defense.
Yes, indeed, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna pick the Colts, man. Jonathan Taylor, hand him. Look, I don't understand. I'm gonna be quick. I don't understand the infatuation of trying to air the ball out like a Steelers fan when you got a running back that is like Jonathan Taylor, man. Keep handing him that ball. When
Well,
y'all was
champ,
handing him that,
like you said, is about marketing. It's kind of like you use the analogy. It's like the analogy. Yes, we are diehard football fans, but at the same time, these franchises they're looking for the pretty and the glamorous things. As far as with this, as far as with the stadiums and everything else, and that's the thing. That's what people just want to see for the prettiness. The casual fans they want to see the crazy 400 or 500 yard performances. Nah, diehard football fans like us, we want to see unconventional. We want to see different things.
yes,
And
indeed.
if you want to do it a traditional way by running the football, what's the big deal?
Hey,
It's like
look,
the analogy you told me before. Hey, hey, we are diehard football fans, but hey, not casual fans. They like the atmosphere. They like everything else. They like the food, them wags as you mentioned. But at the same time, if I'm an old school type of guy, and more importantly, if this is the style that is conducive to winning, why go against it? So let me run the football with Jonathan Taylor. See how I use
Oh
that
boy.
against you?
Oh man, I
Well, you
love it,
call me
man.
the New Jersey genius. You call me
That's why I
that.
call this the highlight of Friday night. The wags, as you call it. But man, look, run the ball, man. Hey, man, look, an offensive lineman's best dream, and with hey, when you pushing and you ain't got a pass block all day long, that's an offensive lineman's dream. Open up them holes for Jonathan Taylor, man. Go ahead and open them up for him, man, and put him back on that MVP pace because that MVP pace has taken a step back in the last couple of weeks. Put him back on that pace.
Despite Matthew Stafford having a struggling game against the Panthers, I still believe it's him and Drake May for the MVP.
Oh, it's a two.
BRF.
Oh, MVP is a two horse race at this point. I 1,000% agree with you. It's Drake May and Matthew Stafford. MVP is a two horse race at this point of the year. Um, but to this
James
game,
Cook in that race?
huh?
James Cook not in that race?
No, this is a two horse race. No, it's Drake May and Matthew Stafford. I love what James Cook is doing. Don't get it twisted. But this is a two horse race. Drake May or Matthew Stafford at this point in the season is winning MVP. I don't think it's really no ifs ands or buts about it. It's a two horse race. Um, but with that being said, going back to the game, Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor kind of has a he comes back. He reminds the world why he's been the best. He's been arguably the best back in the league this season. I think he has a good game. I think he puts up at least 125 yards because I mean it's not like Jacksonville is coming in with an all world defense, particularly in the running game. I think he gets at least a buck 25 in this game, and I got the Colts winning.
All right. Another game that I'm looking at right here: Titans at Browns. Cleveland is a 4.5 point favorite. Um, I am going to pick Tennessee because look, Champ and I we discussed this on the Sunday live. Check out the episode Beneath the Seal, already over 1,000 views. Thank you. Champ didn't want to go into the conspiracy theory that Kevin Stefanski is sabotaging Shador Sanders. He didn't want to go down that road. I did, however, say though is that Kevin Stefanski, you're not giving much of Shador Sanders a chance. And look, when I looked at the game against the 49ers, BRF and Champ, for the life of me, can anyone understand why he decided to go 4th and 1 when you're down two and when your defense is playing well in that game? It was only 10-8. And I don't understand why you would go for it in your own territory. You give San Francisco, whose offense didn't really play that well in that game, you're giving them momentum. And with Shador Sanders, yes, champ, we understand the importance of running the football, but if you're trailing, you're gonna have to throw the ball a hell of a lot more than running it. Because if you throw the ball more, it stops the clock, especially if you're trying to come back and trying to win the game. And also, too, Jared Judy, can you please?
Shut the hell up.
Well,
Shout out to Chris Jericho.
I was gonna say catch the damn ball as well.
That too.
I
And
mean,
plus, even though you were frustrated with Shador Sanders on the sideline, and look, Jay Gruden, there were some plays in which he demonstrated on his podcast, the Guild podcast with him, Skip Bayless, Gilbert Arenas, and even though Shador Sanders missed out on some throws, still at the same time, Jared Judy, how does it help when you're yelling on the sideline to your rookie quarterback? You haven't had the type of season you had last year, and if I'm not mistaken, you're right up there in the NFL as far as with drops.
I mean, look, if you're Justin Jefferson, one of C.D. Lamb, George Pickens, one of those guys, you have a right to be. And even with those guys, only thing I've been hearing about in the media is how Justin Jefferson has been talking with J.J. McCarthy, making sure he doesn't lose his confidence, making sure he doesn't lose his swagger, making sure that he keeps him calm. That's the only thing that you hear about talking to him. And he's the best receiver in the league. And like I said last week, if anybody has a reason to be frustrated, it has to be Justin Jefferson. He went from 14-3 to being a Super Bowl and playoff contender to now being 4-7. So if anybody has a right to be frustrated, it's him. If you are Justin Jefferson and you're yelling at somebody on the sideline, get the ball to me, do something like that, then guess what? You have that right. You have the clout to do that. However, when you're a Jared Judy type of character who couldn't catch a ball, who couldn't catch a cold in Alaska barefooted, then guess what? You can't say anything to anybody. So guess what? He couldn't catch a cold barefooted in Alaska, butt naked in the snow. So guess what? Be quiet.
BRF.
um, I was watching a lot. I was looking at some of the analysis of Cleveland and with Shador and how he's been playing. And there was one play that I saw on TikTok that somebody illustrated that really it put in perspective what I was saying early in the season about Shador. The reason why he was getting like a first and a second grade. There was a play. I want to say it was they had a bunch formation to Shador's right. They had one receiver lined up at top. They had a running back behind him. It was a passing play. San Francisco dropped the defensive end in the zone coverage and took two of his reads away, and then had Jerry Judy busting out. It was a 3rd and 3. Had Jerry Judy running an in route, had the first down, and Joker to his left. Basically, all his passing lanes were taken away. A 5th-round rookie quarterback having the wherewithal to see Jerry Judy being able to adjust mid route to run deep, and Shador being able to read that and throw the ball. And even though he didn't hit him, the fact that a 5th-round rookie is making reads like that pretty much says what I was talking about before the draft in the regular season. One of the surprising aspects of Shador Sanders' game is his ability to go through his progressions and go through his receivers and not panicking in the pocket. So Jerry Judy really needs to kind of stay in his lane and kind of get off his high horse. Like Champ said, there's one thing if you're Justin Jefferson, if you're C.D. Lamb, if you're a guy like that who's year in and year out busting your tail, making plays, and proving yourself. Jerry Judy, outside of last year, you've been pedestrian at best. So you need to keep your mouth closed and let your game speak louder than your mouth. So, but with that being said, though, I'm picking Cleveland because Myles Garrett is an alien. He is an alien from outer space who needs to be stopped, but the problem is you can't stop him. That one play against Trent Williams, where he basically rushed the passer and did a freaking Euro step to get past him and sack the quarterback, was one of the coolest things I have ever seen in my life. I am picking the Cleveland Browns here because I think Myles Garrett is going to go off this game. I think I do. When they play, I'm expecting Myles Garrett to just absolutely go off. Like, it wouldn't shock me if he breaks the single season sack record in this game. It wouldn't shock me at all. He needs 3.5 sacks to break the record. It wouldn't shock me at all if he just goes off.
If he breaks that sack record in the time, I think it's only 12 games now.
Well, he needs 3. Okay, he needs 3.5 to tie 4 to break it.
Yeah, if he breaks this, he's the undisputed sack leader because he's broken in this game. Damn, you trying to turn me into the Manchurian candidate again? but but I'm just joking. but but I think that Myles Garrett, if he gets 5 sacks in this game, it's gonna be he's the undisputed sack king. And if he keeps running it up, imagine PSP. Can you imagine if he gets 30 sacks this year?
That may be a possibility. I think 25, 26. He
If
could
he gets
probably get.
30 sacks, that is they gonna drug test him after every game next year.
But unfortunately, he may not win Defensive Player of the Year because again, they're gonna give it to somebody on a winning team, though.
If look, I made this comparison before. Cortez Kennedy back in 1992, his team only won 2 games. He won Defensive Player of the Year. The year that Michael Strahan broke the sack record, I think they only won 4 games during that time. I don't even think they made the playoffs during that time. I have to check. But there's been a lot of players who didn't make the playoffs, who didn't have a lot of team success, but they were so monstrous that they was able to get Defensive Player of the Year. So, look, I think didn't Namde Asamoah, did he win Defensive Player of the Year at one point?
Giants did miss the playoffs in 2001, finishing with a 7-9 record.
Yes. So yeah, and I think let me check. I think Namde Asamoah, he won Defensive Player
I
of the
think he got it one time when he was with the Raiders. I think.
Year.
He was a two-time first-team All-Pro. He was a two-time second-team All-Pro. He made 3 Pro Bowls, and he won the Wizard White NFL Man of the Year. But as far as defensive player, no,
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Okay.
okay.
Sorry about that.
no.
Sorry.
I'll add this real quick. MVP, yeah, but when you're talking about offensive and defensive player of the year, I just feel like it's like who's like I think that's more of like the outstanding player award. I don't think there's a defensive player on any of like the playoff contending teams
Better than Miles Garrett, no.
who. No, there isn't. There isn't. They're not sniffing what he's doing as far as overall impact. And I'm looking at all the teams in the playoffs contending. Nah, defensive player of the year is Miles Garrett. I don't think his team success is going to hurt what he's doing in terms of individuality as far as like making an impact week in and week out. Depoy is his.
Um, Look, I hope, champ, they following your advice. You mentioned Cortez Kenny, and you also mentioned Michael Strahan, but I'm afraid they're gonna also hold. Hey, Miles Garrett, you could have had a chance to go to a different team, but you decided to stay for the money. You never know. I'm not. I'm surprised. I don't be surprised, champ. Somebody don't use politics and all that stuff, though. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's right, but don't be surprised, though.
Hey, I'm gonna just be real. We know the money played a role in it, but why do we get on to players for ring chasing? Why do we get on players for not ring chasing, and then get on to them when they do stuff like that? Because the thing is, if he was willing to stay, and he probably could have got the money somewhere else. I know Atlanta would have been glad to give him the money. They would have freed up every damn thing in order to get him.
I
But he
don't
could
think he
have
would
got
have made as much money compared to what he had in Cleveland, champ. But nevertheless, he would have made a good amount of money. And
yeah,
at the
he
end of the day, Miles Garrett, you knew you've been around that organization since 2017. This is now your 9th year with this organization. You've seen how this organization is from day one. Matter of fact, you were on that team in which they went 0-16,
yeah,
and you've only managed to go to a couple of playoff games in your career and win a playoff game. For you, if you want to end off your career right, you should have went elsewhere. But he decided to stay for the money. That was his call. He requested a trade. I was like, good for him. Cleveland doesn't need to waste his services. But he
yeah.
decided to stay because of the money. And plus, still to this day, champ, we don't know what's gonna happen with this team. And Kevin Stefanski, a couple of years ago, we thought this was the type of head coach for this team. He's a 2-time coach of the year. A few years ago, think of all the injuries that Cleveland had in 2023, but still able to make the playoffs with a Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
So it's sad, man, but it is what it is. But unfortunately, speaking of you was sad because you mentioned your team, Atlanta, Seahawks versus Atlanta.
The 12th man. 12th man gonna win this one.
We know
Look,
you were not going to say forever, I love Atlanta. Not after what happened last week.
no, well, look. Go ahead, man. Look, Atlanta, still love you. You still doing your thing. I'm still look. You still my team, regardless. I'm still gonna sing your praises if you end up winning. But I don't expect too much of you at this point. It's like, hey, man, look, you made all F's on your report card all semester. Why am I expecting you to make honor roll all of a sudden? So no, I just you know the faith is kind of gone when it comes there. We were in playoff contention still. I could understand the faith still being there, but at this point, man, look, go out there, don't embarrass yourself. Don't let JSN go out there and just smoke y'all. That's all I ask. But if he does, hey, he's on the road to break that record anyway. Hey, I don't know what to think anymore about my team, man. My team is really it's very very disappointing how things turned out. Like I thought it was gonna be one big just at least a playoff team, but 2 years in a row it's like it's been sad excuses and false hopes high at this point. And I'm like, hey, I ain't finna set myself up for failure again, man. And look, Atlanta, I still love you. Go out there and give it your best. If you win, I'm gonna sing your praises. If you lose, you're gonna still be my team at the end of the day. Like I stated, man, I know how Cleveland Browns fans feel because hey, I've dealt with losing seasons and going to the playoffs after January. I know after January, my team's season pretty much over. I'm covering everybody else, but I think I think not only do the Seahawks win, JSN gets 250 yards on us, man.
Nah, I'm gonna go 100. You said 250 last time against Minnesota. That didn't work out, and Atlanta still has one of the elite passing defenses in the NFL. So why am I supposed to believe he's gonna go for over 200?
Hey, you never know, man. Plus, I think AJ Terrell's probably out this week, so I got to do some checking on that. But I think
I'll go
he's
check
out.
it out
Let
right
me check.
now. AJ Terrell says right here. I haven't heard whether he's gonna solid showing Sunday. No, that's something else. I'm sorry, but there hasn't been a report whether he's going to be out yet, champ.
All right,
But
hold
all
on.
I heard the recent news about the Payton Walter Payton Man of the Year. But
Yeah, yeah, Walter Payton Man of the Year, but yeah, it hasn't been a report, but yeah, it's the rumor mill going around, but
we'll see. We'll
we'll
wait
see.
and see.
He hasn't given up a touchdown all season though. He hasn't.
Kind of like how Joe Thuney all year hasn't given up a sack, which is why you said for offensive lineman of the year they'll give it to him.
Yeah, man. I'm glad they're giving away the offensive lineman award.
Well, you pushed it.
Absolutely, man. Look. I
Yeah, we we
know
we we know we know you shit. We know you ain't got to say it anymore. Quarterback cannot throw behind his back. You've said it. Why don't you?
exactly.
You're gonna have to start creating a T-shirt for that.
Hey, look. Shout out to my father. Me and him came up with that. So
Hmm.
can't take anything away from my father. He helped me come up with that. Quarterback can't throw on his back. So I'm gonna get that trademarked. So uh, yeah, man. Joe Thuney, no sacks all year. Offensive lineman of the year award.
All right, next game: Bengals at Bills. Buffalo's a 6-point favorite.
Buffalo, you know what to do. You know what to do. Let James cook. Let him cook. And especially against this defense, he should have like 200 yards.
Denver at Raiders.
It's gonna be ugly, but it's gonna be different. It's gonna be ugly.
You know they barely lost. They almost lost to the Commanders.
Yeah, it's gonna be ugly as hell, but it's gonna be it's gonna be the Broncos. That is the ugliest winning team I've seen since the 2000 Ravens. That is ugly.
Bears at Packers. Green Bay's a 6.5-point favorite.
They playing in
Yes.
Lambeau Field, Green Bay.
I'm gonna go with Chicago for the upset
Okay.
because I just think when it comes down to Caleb Williams, look, I am not expecting Caleb Williams to play spectacular, but if he does play good enough, if he can get at least 63% of his passes completed, and if Munga and Swift, I don't expect them to do like what they did to I'm sorry, I don't expect them to do to Green Bay like what they did to Philadelphia, but Michael Parsons, I mean, he may have a chance to win defensive player of the year if he goes on this rampage. You know, he's the first player in NFL history, I think, with 5 seasons with double digit sacks.
Yeah.
And you want to make a statement for defensive player of the year? You want to make a case right here, especially with a winning team like y'all are, and for y'all to take over the NFC North, this would be the game. I'm gonna go with Chicago for the upset because in some unconventional way they're gonna win. We're gonna wait and see. We're hoping the BRF comes back on the pod. If not, we'll just continue on with the show. Rams at Cardinals. I think it's pretty obvious. Rams.
LA.
Um, Now this is the big one for me. Texans at Chiefs.
This is why you do not trade star offensive linemen, because they definitely would have needed Joe Thuney against this defense. On that note, Houston.
I'm gonna go with Kansas City.
Okay.
And Monday Night Football, Eagles at Chargers.
San Diego Superchargers.
Eagles have to win this one. Now they're laughing right now because again of the Cowboys loss to the Lions. But if I'm Philadelphia, don't get too complacent. And if I have to win ugly, and that includes not getting the ball to AJ Brown, because I said it before, champ, since those 2 games, he's had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Has he complained?
He's been quieter than a church on Monday.
But if I'm Philadelphia, I want to win. I want to win the division, and I'm trying to compete for a Super Bowl. Run the ball. Not with Saquon Bigsby. And stop asking Jalen Hurts to do much more than what he really should. And it's getting bad for Kevin Patola. I don't know if I sent you this, champ, but you saw some of them Eagles fans. They ate this house.
They
You know that.
ate this house. He said, "Look, it was an egg and not a brick." So, that actually happened to a coach at one point. I forget what coach it was, which decade. They actually bricked one coach house. So yeah, look, it was just eggs and not bricks.
All right, fellas, let's move on. Babyface heel, my favorite topic on the Sports PSP pod. Now, for those who may not know what babyface heel means in wrestling language, babyface means a good guy, hero. A heel is a bad guy, villain, and a tweener is someone in between. So I come up with a list of athletes or celebrities. And me and the panel, we are going to decide whether they are a babyface, heel, or tweener. Now, for this first athlete right here, it's NFL. It's an NFL player. Richard Sherman.
Tweener. I'll say he's a tweener because sometimes, he speaks out of turn about, some of the current players. I can understand your assessment. That's your job, but you got to be careful because you were a player and you didn't like the way Skip Bayless had spoke to you and spoke about you at one point, calling you a thug just because you were talking stuff to Tom Brady and things of that nature. So you have to be careful, and not to mention some of the things that happened off the field during, certain collapses that he had. Um, Overall, look, tweener, he's a likable tweener. He's not one of those hateable guys. He talked crap all during his playing days, but he could back it up. He was one of the best corners in the league. At one point, it was him and Revis Island in a two-man race. So, man, he was the spearhead and the mouthpiece for one of the greatest defenses in the history of the game, that being the Legion of Boom. So, yeah, and I understand that got up under a lot of people's skin, you talking, and he produced one of the best sound bites, arguably, in the history of football. That was one of the best sound bites in the history of football. Man, that was everywhere. I mean, even President Obama was talking about it when they went and visited the White House. Will you try me with a sorry receiver like
Then it's the
Crabtree?
championship game.
Yeah. Don't you ever talk about me. so, so, hey, not look, not bad enough to be a heel, but a lot of controversies. He talked smack with a lot of, even when he was playing, he was going back and forth with Patrick Peterson, talking about who the best corner in the league. You're gonna have those discussions.
Darrell Rivas as well.
Darrell Rivas as well. Had a lot of different discussions about
But you
different.
also kind of like how the way he went after Skip Bayless early on. Remember when he was on ESPN?
Yeah.
In
Look,
my 24 years in life,
look.
I'm better than life than you. And even though it kind of it sounds shocking, but at the same time, you also got to look at it from the standpoint Skip Bayless is no empathetic or sympathetic figure when it comes to sports media, considering the things he said in the past. Ask Troy Aikman.
Yeah, and not just Troy Aikman. Some of the questionable things he said during that DeMar Hamlin debacle. So,
Well,
and I
not just that. I mean, Dak Prescott, and of course, of all people, you criticizing another athlete for being baptized.
yeah. So yeah, and look, I'm gonna just be real. I'm gonna go here slightly, but not step over the line. How are you calling me a thug and I'm a Stanford graduate?
Exactly. Well
You calling
educated.
me a thug and I'm a Stanford graduate? That's just weird. He's a thug. I'm a Stanford graduate. What are you talking about?
Because they look at the fact that he comes from Compton, Cali, and they don't take into account that he came from the University of Stanford. Smart, has degrees in his name. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But again, as we always say with Black people, champ, you can't do what the white men do.
So, yeah, but the thing is this: everybody's talking. To Richard Sherman's point, I'm gonna just say this: you can't tell me I can't talk shit on the field.
When
This
I've
is
backed it up.
this is my safe haven. And guess what? If I'm not allowed to talk smack out here on this field, regardless of Tom Brady being the media darling, that's my job to beat him. I understand y'all mad about him. Y'all mad about me beating the Christian Laettner of football, maybe even greater. Probably, I'm kind of speaking from his perspective at a certain point. But it's kind of like when UNLV used to face Duke, or the Fab Five used to face Duke. I understand these are your media darlings, but you're calling him a thug, and I'm a Stanford graduate. That's weird as hell. And guess what? I'm on the field. Everybody talks shit. Phillip Rivers talks shit. Tom Brady himself talks shit. So guess what? Let's stop with calling somebody. I don't like I said, I didn't understand that logic because everybody's talking smack on the field. Hell, as an offensive lineman, I used to talk smack. I had one of my best offensive tackles in there, and I knew he had the game. Guess what? Hey man, we gonna ring your bell all day to dawn today. We got something for you today. But yeah, it's just I think that was weird of Skip Bayless, and I think only Skip Bayless did that. Nobody else was sitting around here calling that young man a thug. And like I said, you're a thug because I talk smack on the field. You're kind of interesting for saying that. I'm not gonna use certain words. I'm just gonna say interesting.
I agree. Tweener applies with Richard Sherman because he is polarizing, but I don't think he's too much of a tweener that people hate. Kind of in some ways, kind of reminds me like 50 Cent a little bit.
Yeah, it's
Because when he talks his shit, he backs it up though. So you can't go wrong with somebody like that.
yeah, and he's an intelligent man and he knows what the hell he's talking about. But like I said, you got to be careful.
50's an intelligent man, and look what he's doing right now.
I mean, look, man, look, I'm gonna just be real. You can beat a person more than with intelligence than you can with your fist. And I'm a former boxer. So you beat somebody with your mind rather than your fist. The pen is they say the pen is mightier than the sword for a reason, or in certain cases a videotape. So
All right, another football player, Jason Witten. I say babyface. No off the field issues. Class personified. He's used his platform to speak out against domestic violence.
mhm.
Um, he's definitely going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Unfortunately for him as a football player, even though had a great career, longevity, the only knock you can say about him, he was never considered the best tight end during his time. It was Tony Gonzalez, Tonio Gates, and then later on Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham and Kelsey and others. But outside of that, babyface, beloved figure. Like I said, he's been outspoken against domestic violence. He's used his platform. He tried taking the same route as Tony Romo did as far as broadcasting. Remember, he used to join Monday Night Football. That didn't work out for him. But still one of the beloved Dallas Cowboys. Still one of the best tight ends. Tremendous blocker.
Yes.
And he's somebody you can count on fourth down situations. He can move the chains. Imagine if Jason Witten had
Jason Whitlock playing tight end. The only end he going to is the end of the line at Wendy's.
well, if he had speed, his ass would be running to the buffet line, but that's a story for another day. But Jason Witten, I apologize, is a baby face. Great guy, seems like a great husband, great father, beloved figure. Definitely going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't really think I need to add any more, man. Babyface.
The real reason why Jason Witten was never considered the best at a certain point is because he played in the greatest era of the tight end. The 2000s was the greatest era of the tight end. That's why I was looking down PSP.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, there was no shame because again, he was overshadowed by
Tony,
Gonzalez and Gates. So,
yeah,
and plus, there's no shame to that because of the offenses that they had. Antonio Gates had the luxury of playing a little bit with Drew Brees and then later on with Philip Rivers.
yeah,
Meanwhile, Tony Gonzalez, he did have Trent Green though. And then later on, after that, he went to Atlanta for a little bit. He did play for Matt Ryan.
yeah,
And then in the 2010s, Tom Brady had Rob Gronkowski. Drew Brees had Jimmy Graham.
yeah,
So you had some prolific tight ends at that point during Witten's career. But he was a hell of a blocker.
yeah,
He was consistent as far as putting up numbers.
yeah. He was. And like I said, he played it during the greatest tight end era. It wasn't just him; those are just the big names. During that era that he played, you had Jeremy Shockey, Dallas Clark,
Yes.
Heath Miller, Algie Crumpler, Todd Heat. You had a little bit of everybody as far as in there, and Desmond Clark. Remember Desmond Clark from the Chicago Bears? He was there. I
He was
mean,
there. But would you say Witten is better than all those tight ends outside of Gonzalez and Gates?
yes, indeed. But the thing is, when the room is too crowded, when the room is too crowded, although you're America's team, you may not get the attention that you deserve because that room is so crowded as far as tight ends were concerned. I mean, like I stated, you had Dallas Clark, you had a little bit of everybody as far as at the tight end position during the 2000s. Like I said, the 2000s are the greatest era of the tight end, arguably in history. So, I mean, and that's just the big name guys. We're not even talking about the utility guys that you would use. I mean, Gronk was in the 2000s and the 2010. So And when they transitioned out of the 2000s, you had an even greater tight end. I mean, not to mention you had guys like Doug Jolly from the Oakland Raiders. He was one hell of a tight end. So when you think about guys like that, I mean, the room is so crowded that although you play for the Dallas Cowboys and you're one of the best at your position, you have the second most pro. I think it's the third most Pro Bowls in history. That room is very, very crowded with you in it. And it's kind of hard for people to say, I'm going to pick you first when you go into that room. So I think that's the only reason why he's not remembered as one of the best tight ends of all time, despite his statistics and him playing for America's team, because that tight end room, as far as not just doing his era, but history, is way too crowded. It's like, yeah, I got to pick of the little when I come in here as far as greatest of all time. I'm not necessarily picking Jason Witten to go first. I'm picking Tony Gonzalez, Mike Ditka's, guys like that. So that's the only reason. But him, undisputed babyface, because he rarely said anything. He was basically the Marvin Harrison of the tight end position during that time. Some of the other guys were flashy. Some of the other guys were celebrating stuff like that. He was relatively silent and let the game speak for itself. So you really can't say too much about him other than he played for America's team and he was now he's the best tight end of all time when it comes to Dallas. But like I said, that room as far as tight ends of all time, way too crowded. So that's the reason why people don't talk about him when you think about greatest tight ends of all times or during his era.
I agree. But as far as on and off the football field, babyface, I just laughed because Shannon Sharp he bragged at one point he can outrun Jason Witten in the 40.
Probably could.
I mean, no, I'm talking about Shannon Sharp after his retired career. Now, Jason Witten, the only thing he didn't have was just speed. He did
Yeah.
have route running. He did. He was very crafty for a guy his size at 6'6", 270. I mean, he can make an impact as far as with blocking, and he was always reliable.
Hmm.
He was always reliable. You said he's the Marvin Harrison. He's the Larry Fitzgerald at the tight end spot.
Hmm.
So, got to tip off to Jason Witten. And also, last one, Tupac.
Babyface.
Yes.
Babyface. Look, let's just be real, bro. People are vilified when they're alive because they have different views. People are vilified when they're alive because they have different views. And then later when they're gone, you kind of realize that, you know, they had a point about a lot of stuff that they were saying. A lot of people didn't like what he was saying as far as him being a revolutionary, his mother being a Black Panther,
Panther.
a lot of the stuff that he was rapping about. People don't understand this. Prior to Death Row, look, let's just keep it real. Prior to Death Row, Tupac wasn't on that gangster rap stuff. He wasn't. Prior to Death Row, if you go back and look at his body of work, it's very much he is a conscious rapper.
They don't talk about that enough, champ. They
Yeah,
look at the fact that Pac did write songs, call women the B word and stuff like that. But go back to Brenda's Got a Baby. Or Keep Your
no,
Head Up. Pac actually spoke
strapped.
stuff for women. Remember the song on one of the lyrics from Keep Your Head Up? I wonder how we take from our woman, how we from our
Yeah,
woman.
yeah.
So
But
Pac did a lot of that, and also his acting. That's what's also so unique about him as well, because we've seen a lot of rappers who've been actors, but again, it does help when you are a poet. It does help that you went to the Baltimore Academy School.
mhm,
It does help that you learned, and of course, your mother, Russ Herschel, was a Black Panther. So Pac was very sharp, very eloquent, and also poet. Can write his own, can also write poetry as well. It's just that with Pac, the reason why he joined gangster rap with Death Row because of the whole East Coast West Coast rivalry between he and Biggie and Bad Boy. Going back to the Quad Studio shooting back in November of 1994, this was a few months prior to his incarceration led to his incarceration for the whole sex abuse situation. But Tupac is a babyface
Yeah.
because women loved him. He is the ladies' man. He is the ladies' man. Every woman loved Tupac, and Tupac loved the woman. And look, Madonna. He had, remember he had to take an extra shower just in order for him to meet Madonna while he was in prison.
I ain't gonna lie to you. There's an interview that I'm gonna send to you later, and there's two women in particular. I won't say their names because they might ring a bell to certain members of the audience. But go back and look at there. There was a video. How do you want it? And there was two women in particular in that video, and one of them, beautiful woman, from back in the day, an actor, I will say from back in the day, and she literally broke into tears.
When
And
Tupac passed away.
yeah, about him passing away. And one of them was white and the other one was black. And what surprised me is the other one, the other actor, she was bawling crying. So that just goes to show you how much that the ladies loved Pac, man. And, hey, never forget this. Remember that interview that Andre Rison did that I'm sorry. I never forget that. That was the funniest. I'm like, really? But yeah, but yeah, when he picked up left out that limo right outside of Andre Rison's house, that was the funniest. I'm like, damn, Pop. But I mean, one of the guys from Goody Mob, I forget his name. I think it's Slim. I think he said, hey man, don't leave. If people talk about Biggie, he'll be the true player. Don't leave your girl around Pac. Pac's near your girl. But
Hmm.
hey, look, Pac was just that cool, man. He was cool without being cool, without trying to be. And one thing that sticks out to me in particular, man, is his interactions with a martial artist that I've known and loved is Michael Jai White. Because if you know Michael Jai White, the guy who played Spawn, played in a lot of martial arts movies, recently got the Bruce Lee Award. He
Rightfully
recently
so.
got the Bruce Lee Award. He is the first black man and the first non-Asian person in order to get that award. That's how much he contributes to the martial arts community and the culture. But I remember him telling me, remember him saying on Vlad TV that he said, me and Tupac used to go around doing schoolhouse rock, saying little nursery rhymes and stuff like that. And he said, I knew certain cues when certain guys would walk in with Pac because people, me and him was to be sitting around here talking about something that was, totally out of the ordinary. But if I heard him say the F word or the G word or something like that, and I would think to myself, somebody black must have walked in because, usually he didn't talk like that. Remember, he was so intelligent in his ways, especially when he was talking to Michael Jai White, but people used to people used to walk up to Michael Jai White and say, hey man, your friend looks like Tupac. And he used to have to tell him, bro, that's Tupac. So that's how close him and Tupac was. But look, he was intelligent. He was cool without actually trying. He had an aura to him, man. He had an aura to him. And look, man, when when the ladies love you and dudes want to be like you cannot ask for anything better than that, man. And you're intelligent. There's certain times where you're only in a class by yourself in one class. Pac was doing it, and he was an iconic movie star, man. It wasn't just these little Tubi movies, what I like to call them, or
He
what I
did
used to call
Juice, Poetic
them.
Justice,
Yes, it
Above
wasn't.
the Rim,
Yeah,
Gridlocked, Gang Related. But
yes,
Poetic Justice was by far my favorite one because that showed more of an emotional side from Tupac.
yeah,
Like if you take the time and you walk and do you remember the story with him and Rest Her Soul, Maya Angelou?
yeah.
Remember the story when he was arguing with some other person and then Maya Angelou pulled him aside and talk to him about the history of slavery, like with the auction blocks and stuff like that. And
Yes.
then once he started to cry, she used her hands to wipe the tears off her face, off his face.
Yeah. Um, man, look, Tupac, man, I'm gonna just be real. Uh,
And plus him in '90s, because remember he and Mike Tyson back in them days.
yeah. Look, man, Tupac, Mike Tyson, guys who were edgy got the attention, man. And look, Tupac was he had every look. A lot of guys these days, they want the attention, but they number one, they don't have the talent, they don't have the aura, and they don't have the work ethic. They don't have the work ethic. Guys like Tupac, Wayne, PSP, they work their asses off in order to get where they are. So they have the right to have that aura. When you have no work behind your aura, you don't have no right to have no aura. You don't get to have no aura and you mediocre. These guys were megastars, like I said, PSP included. They have the aura because they work.
I
They
don't want to put
work.
myself in that ballpark.
Well, look, you ain't got to put yourself. I am, but
Well, okay, fine.
these,
I will admit I work my ass off every single day. I try to do the best I can, but it's one thing to have the aura, but the work ethic, the drive, the determination,
yeah,
and I think that's the thing that people take it for granted. Like with Pac, he was a workaholic, but
yes,
what I missed the most about him was his knowledge, his brilliance, and his activism. And
yeah.
imagine just how the world would be today if we had someone like him with his activism, given who he is, mother being a Black Panther, like he would do a lot for the Black community today.
You know what? One thing I've been waiting on. I don't know if they're because music is kind of like you're not really promoting music. I'm learning a lot about music from the young guys. Shout out to the young guys in the chat who keep me updated on the music. I know Wale's album just came out, pretty
Mm,
good album. Uh, a few good music. Have been waiting ever since the seating president went into the office the first time. I have been waiting for a new political type of group to come out, full of young kids, because Public Enemy is still doing their thing, because they made the song "State of the Union," you know. And if you ever get a chance, go listen to that song. It's a good song. But what I've been waiting for is another KRS-One, is another Tupac before he went to death row, is another De La Soul, guys who are political rap, even a Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine, you just can't listen to them. You got to hear it. So Rage Against the Machine. I've been waiting on groups like that to make a comeback, especially with these type of political climates. Unfortunately, they have not. And if you're in the chat and you know a few, feel free to inbox me and let me listen to them. But I've been waiting for the political rap game, like the Public Enemies and things like that, to make a comeback, because we had that back in the day. What I like to call the conscious rap. Even Lupe Fiasco, guys like that. But unfortunately, it hasn't made the comeback that I thought it would make. I thought that would really make a lot of headway, especially when the seating president made his debut as the president of the country. But Pac was cool. He was he was he had confidence. And you have the right to have that confidence when you look good, when people want to be you, when people can say your rhymes word for word. And people don't understand this, man. He was 25 years old. He was on 24 years old and he died. And there's still
25.
25. Okay, my bad. And still over 300 songs that he's made hasn't been released as of yet. So, yeah, that just goes to show you how much work that you got done. I mean, Pac, man, look, Tupac, uh, the cat, look, the cat. When you talk about casual fans, that's a guy who you say, man, who you can walk up to a person and you say, hey man, you listen to rap, and they say I listen to Tupac, and it's like, oh, okay, we can that's a good start. But that's the thing. People can say I listen to right. Yeah, I listen to Tupac every now and then. Even though, like I said, I've hung out with a lot of heavy metal fans when I was in the army, and they would come into the room and they would come into the barracks or wherever we was at, and I'd be listening to Tupac or whatever, and I was like, hey, y'all, I know y'all want to listen to y'all metal. I turn the music on. No, we listen to Tupac. I'm like, damn, y'all metal guys. I thought y'all was better. I was like, no, we still listen to Tupac or we love Pac. But yeah, and those were heavy metal guys. So that was an aura, man. That was an aura, man. You can't. There's some things money just can't buy, and that aura, that intelligence, that swagger, that work ethic, that it you just can't match that, man. To this day, people have been trying to replicate it, but cannot. They just cannot they just cannot redo it, man. They can't redo it.
You
Big
sure
up to the
can't.
Lakers.
All right, champ. Let's move on to the next one. Favorite Bobby Lashley moment. I would have to say the match between him and Umaga WrestleMania. But prior to that, remember when Stone Cold interrupted Trump and Vince McMahon, and when Stone Cold interfered and talked about Vince and Bobby Lashley's stare down on Vince,
Yeah.
particularly about that bald situation.
Mhm.
But Bobby Lashley, his work in ECW, physical freak. Um, I loved his work. Him with Brock Lesnar, but definitely to me, I would have to say the Battle of the Billionaires.
Um, Slamming the Big Show,
Yes.
putting him in the running power slam. That display of power was just unmatched. He was facing monsters in ECW as the ECW champion. Beat Umaga, beat the Big Show. Remember when he jumped over and cleared the late great King Mabel, aka Viscera, and body slammed him. And look, remember that epic match that he had at the Great American Bash against John Cena? It
Yes.
took 3 attitude adjustments in order to beat him. One from off the top ropes. One from off the top ropes. He lost that match, but he was magnificent in that match. He challenged the great John Cena. Let's not forget about one of the most greatest groups that we've ever saw as far as black groups in the WWE, the Hurt Business. The Hurt. I loved the Hurt Business. I look and look. If you ever want to see the Hurt Business at its peak, you see there's a picture with MVP sitting down in the middle of a ring on the steel chair, and there's the whole Hurt Business on right behind him. And what I liked about them, they wasn't just one of these mockery type of groups. As you know, there's a lot of black groups that are, that are parody type of groups. If you really want me to be honest in wrestling, they're not serious guys. The only serious group that I've seen where their work in the ring is as serious as their aura and their demeanor is the Nation of Domination and the Hurt Business. Those are the only two groups that I've ever seen that was dead ass serious. When you saw Farouk in the Nation of Domination, he was dead serious. When you saw Bobby Lashley with the Hurt Business and you saw MVP as the mouthpiece of that, they were dead serious. I never forget when Titus Young said he wanted to be in the group, and never forget MVP said, "No, we are in business." And they attacked him and just beat him to a pulp right there, man. But Bobby Lashley is so underrated, man, and he was one of the few long-term champions in the WWE as far as black champions were concerned.
That's
He
true.
was one of the few. I mean, say what you would like about wrestling, there has not been too many that you just get behind, but he was able to have a pretty long reign. You know, you can't talk about he's written in wrestling history along with Farouk, along with guys like that, Ernie Ladd, Thunderbolt Patterson, people like that, Abdullah the Butcher. Those are guys that you're never gonna forget as a black guy. That one of my guys were on The Rock, I will say The Rock, Kofi Kingston. you know, world champions that was handed the banner, and Mark Henry as well. Those are guys who you want to look at and say, look, I'm not a parody guy. I'm not out here making jokes and making myself look silly. I'm a legitimate wrestler. I'm serious and I'm taken serious. I'm not out here making people laugh. I am legit. And so I'm a monster. I'm a monster babyface or a monster heel. I'm part of a monster group that's not being made a mockery of. So that's what I loved about Bobby Lashley because he was dead serious. You need that serious guy. Look, everybody loves the guys like myself who can make you laugh and make you playful and you feel so safe. But everybody needs that serious mofo that's not to be played with, especially in the entertainment business.
Well, look at Bret Hart. Bret Hart is the perfect example of not taking himself too damn seriously.
Yeah, everybody look, but everybody needs that guy. Everybody needs it. Hey, look, you gotta know who
That's why.
not to
That's
mess with.
that's why. That's why I'm the opposite for you, champ.
You gotta know who. Look, excuse me for saying this. You gotta know who not to f with. You got to know that, and then you got to know when that line is crossed. People can joke with me and say like that, but they know not to do that, and I'm glad they don't. It's just like, hey man, you joke with me. I play all the time, but don't, my man over here, he don't play that shit, and you need that guy, and you don't need if everybody playing, who's going to be serious at a certain point. But I'm glad that they didn't make him a mockery type of wrestler. I'm
Well,
glad that
that's
they
not how
didn't.
he wanted to be seen. He wanted to be seen as someone who took his craft, who took his work very seriously. And I didn't want him to be that either. I just felt like for him to go and go farther in his career was to be taken seriously. Because if he was taken like a joke or a silly, then how's that going to feel on him? How's that going to impact him?
Yeah,
Not so well. So for Bob, I can't blame him for taking the serious approach because not everyone is going to be too playful, too joyful. People want to be taken seriously.
yeah.
Like with me, champ, like I tell you all the time, when it comes to this podcast stuff, the stuff that I do, I take my ass too damn seriously.
I mean, look,
Cause that's how I am. I'm just that driven.
yeah. And look, that's not to say that the playful guy isn't, but because they'll be surprised. I always used to tell people, they used to always ask me at school, man, how the hell you make all A's? Hell, I might be joking, but I'm right. So I might be joking, but I'm saying, yeah. So, but I'm sitting over here right too. So yeah, but you need that serious guy, especially if you're a black champion. You don't always want to see nobody going around here dancing
Plus,
like,
especially the history with black wrestlers with
yes,
champions.
yeah.
And
You
it
don't want to
doesn't
see that mockery. You don't want to see a mockery. Sometimes, and I'd rather look, and I'm just gonna be real. When Mark Henry was a heel as a champion, I love seeing that because he was taken serious. This guy's the world's strongest man. He shouldn't be made for he's a
early
sexual.
on he was made fun of for like the Mr. Chocolate and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But when he became heel, that's when you're like, same
yeah,
thing with Kali. I liked it when he was a heel.
yes,
Same thing with Big Show. I liked it when he was a heel because he was
yeah,
to be taken seriously. Because he's the biggest, baddest, you know what? Nah, you ain't trying to. I'm not trying to appease the audience. I'm trying to appease me.
yeah.
Brock
And that's
Lesnar, he
what I
plays a
love.
lot better when he's a heel.
Yeah. When you have a big man like Bobby Lashley who can look, let's just be clear. I have to say this. When you have a guy as big as Bobby Lashley that looked like he can legitimately in real life beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar, then guess what? He has to be taken serious. That's the only guy that I can really look at in the wrestling business and say, look, if I'm in a fight with somebody and Brock Lesnar is their backup, I can go get Bobby Lashley, and I think he can legitimately give me a shot in order to beat this guy. You can't turn that guy into a mockery. You can't turn him into a mockery. So yeah, especially with him having an MMA black background, just like Brock Lesnar, him being a big bodybuilder like Brock Lesnar. So with him being as agile and as swift and as fast as a Brock Lesnar, who been a powerhouse like Brock. So yeah, he's one of the few guys that you look at his build, you look at his stature, you look at how chiseled he is. It's just like, okay, if him and Brock get into a fight, guess what? Brock might win, but this guy gonna give him a run for his money. That's not something you want to make fun of.
No question about it. No question about it. And but I think for me, man, I love Bobby Lashley, just his energy. But I did love the fact his reaction to Vince McMahon when Stone Cold had to confront him about the baldness part. But his time in ECW, he was like one of the top guys of ECW when he was the champion at that point.
Yeah,
And I just love that. So that's what I love about Bobby Lashley, like his energy, his drive, his determination. He's a no nonsense type of guy. Doesn't really have much to say as far as with mic skills. I consider him like more Kawhi Leonard in terms of no BS, no nonsense and stuff like that.
yeah. Like I said, man, when you look at him and you look at Brock Lesnar, those are two guys that if they got into a fight, guess what? They look like they can match each other.
Yep.
And like I said, that's not to be made. When you got a guy that darn big, that's not to be messed with.
That's what makes it. Yep, I agree. Couldn't agree more, big fella. And last but not least, favorite Eminem track. The Conscious song with him and Dr. Dre. Ass Like That. Because I was watching one of Owen Wilson's movies. I forget the name of the movie. I'll have to go look that up. But Eminem, him and Biggie, Dead Wrong, Renegade, Dr. Dre, Forgot About Dre.
Yes, Renegade, that was a good one.
Of course, Slim Shady, Lose Yourself. Not Afraid. Him and Lil Wayne, No Love.
Yes,
For a white rapper from Detroit, because again, because back then, champ, white rappers they weren't taken as seriously back then.
yeah. And what's ironic about that is MC Search had trouble as good as he was getting that type of recognition.
From third base.
Yeah, from third base. And guess who he discovered? He discovered Nas. He
Yes.
was Nas's manager at one point. Funny story about him and Nas, right? Uh, he was trying to get Nas out of his contract with him as his manager or something like that. I don't want to get it wrong. He was trying to get Nas out of his contract with something or another. And I remember third base's MC Search's manager stated that just tell the record company that y'all hate each other and y'all gonna hurt each other if y'all work together still. And I never forget, he said okay, and they ended up Nas ended up getting out of his contract or what have you, and they walked out of the building drinking champagne and smoking cigars. So that was MC Search, and MC Search he was very very fair with Nas. Go back and look at that. But even MC Search, and he was a legitimate MC. He had trouble getting that. Even Everlast from he used to run with Cypress Hill. Everlast had trouble getting recognition like Eminem did. So there's been a lot of other Caucasian rappers before him, but he was one of a kind. And look, he could flow. And he was very, very controversial. Bro, look, I'm gonna just be real. Nowadays,
You talking
he's
about Eminem?
revered. Yeah, nowadays, because of the rap, he's
Oh, remember
revered.
the Hail Mary with him, 50 and Busta?
Yes, but that's not it. He used to get in trouble for saying certain words in his rap lyrics. So people have protest. Look,
Yeah, I
I
remember.
remember when people was protesting and walking the streets saying that they need to get Eminem's albums off the shelf because of certain stuff that he was saying, making
Remember
fun
what he
of
said
certain,
about with Michael Jackson?
well, not only that, what he said about a certain incident that happened in Colorado. So yeah. So if you don't know what that incident I'm talking about, go look it up. It was a doozy. So yeah, talking about certain incidents like that, saying, making fun of boy bands, saying certain words. He was very, very controversial. He was very speaking. They used to call, look. Remember in the source in certain magazines, they was calling him the white Tupac at a certain point. So yeah, you know, people listen to his lyrics today, and he's revered. But in the early 2000s, he'd have probably been canceled today if the Slim Shady and the Marshall Mathers LP would have came out today. He probably would have got canceled. You know, when he's especially, you know, I never forget number 2 on the Marshall Mathers LP. When I was just a little baby boy, my mama used to tell me these crazy things. She used to tell me my daddy was an evil man. She used to tell me he hated me. I remember that. I remember that. And I remember the intro to the album. So yeah. I remember the song he made about his ex-wife, Kim. I remember that song. Uh yeah, it was a lot of controversial songs. I mean, he evolved, which every rapper should do. But those lyrics back then, today, those wouldn't fly above the radar today. They probably would have stripped this album off the shelf today because of how, you know, the world's a little bit softer, which rightfully so. But yeah, they would, those lyrics back then were not popular. Even back then they weren't popular. But Stan was a great song. Stan. Produced by the legendary 45 Kings, by the way. So that was I found out that one later when I got older, who the 45 Kings was and what he meant to hip hop. That song Stand was produced by 45 Kings.
Oh, so yeah.
Yeah. That was produced by 45 Kings. Shout out to the 45 Kings, by the way. Um, hey, Renegade. Funny thing about Renegade is this. I listened to that song first and then listened to Ether. And I'll never forget Nas brought it up. He
Shot.
said, yeah, Eminem murdered you on your own album. That was that was the funniest thing in the world. The funniest thing about that is that wasn't the original song. That wasn't the original song. The original Renegade was him and Royce the 5'9". So it was the original Renegade was the him and Royce the 5'9". That was a I didn't find out that till later because, you know, me being in the South, I was more focused on regional rap. But the original Renegade was Eminem and Royce the 5'9". Uh, the Way I Am. Funny thing about The Way I Am, you know who inspired that song? Rakim.
Mm.
Yeah, Rakim inspired that song. I never forget one lyric inspired that song. If you really go back and look at it, Rakim said this one lyric: "I'm the R, the A to the K I am, and if I wasn't, then why would I say I am?" And then if you go back and listen to The Way I am whatever you say I am, and if I wasn't, then why would I say I am? That's how KRS-One, no, excuse me, Rakim inspired that particular song. He wrote it in an article that he had. Uh, Never forget when he was dissing Benzino, man. The Sauce was a real good song, man. The Sauce was a real good song. Nail in the Coffin. Look, the mixtape, the DJ Green Lantern albums, I love those. Uh, I don't know what happened to DJ Green Lantern, but if you listen to this DJ Green Lantern, I loved all your mixtapes, especially when Slim Shady and all those guys are on there. Um, we all die one day. Never forget that. We're gonna bring it to anybody who want them. You want it, who gonna get it? You bring them, we gonna hit them, chew them up, and spit them out. Too much vitamin. If you roll with them, we gonna mess you up with them. I remember him and 50 killed those last two verses, man. That was classic. Criminal. Criminal was a good one. Every time I ride around, these people think it's a crime to tell them what's on my mind. Guess I'm a criminal. I don't have to say a word. I just flip them a bird to keep going. I don't take shit from no one. That one was classic. That was classic. The Marshall Mathers LP is going to go down as the top 3 album of all time, man. because it's one of those albums that's a no skip album. It's rare that you get that no skip album. You can put that in the. You can put that. I used to look. I used to put that in my CD player back when we actually had physical media. I used to put that in my CD player, and I could drive from Columbus all the way to Atlanta on that CD alone. That was how good the Marshall Mathers LP was. And let's not forget about Recovery. Recovery was a good one, man. Seduction was a good one. I never forget when South Park came out. I Am Phenomenal. That was a good one. Venom, when he put that on the Venom album, that was perfect for that one, for the anti-hero, that being Venom. Um man, Eminem, and that's just the mainstream stuff that he did. The underground stuff he did was just as good. D12, Purple Pills. That was a that was a that was a parody song, but I love that song, man. So many places I've been so many things. That was a good one. Fight music, that was good. Um, I never forget this song he did with Juice World, Godzilla. That was a good.
Oh my God. My favorite verse from Eminem. I may get a lot of flash for it. Do you remember Big Sean's track "No Favors"?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was
Yeah,
some. That was some.
yeah. I mean, look,
Especially when he talked about Dre's past. I won't. Go look it up. How
good.
he talked about Brady and Aaron Hernandez and a lot of other things.
Yeah,
I mean, that was my favorite verse from that track. I mean, when he went insane in that track, in that verse.
yes, indeed. And look, let's not forget. I think it was Survivor Series or SummerSlam. This is my legacy, legacy. When John Cena had that one big, no, it was WrestleMania. And that was the theme to WrestleMania for John Cena in that big old match that he had. I forget what match it was, man. And my legacy, that was it. And
Hmm.
man, man, look, people love giving him flack because of whatever reason. We know the reason, but whatever reason. But my thing is, if you can flow, you should be in the GOAT conversation. And he's one of the best guys that we've seen. And he did it differently. He talked about stuff that normally you wouldn't hear about in hip hop. I never heard about somebody, well, outside of 3 6 Mafia, you didn't really hear about certain stuff when it came to that, especially doing those parody skits that was on the Marshall Mathers LP. That kind of make you cringe nowadays. But those those parodies in between the songs. And you love South Park. I'll never forget
I
he made
do.
the song with the kids, when Eric Cartman was in the background. I had boys and girls. See, children, drugs are bad. And if you don't believe me, ask your dad. I'll never forget that, man. We had Eric Cartman in the background. But man, man, you made my teenage years cool, man. Like Pac made my childhood good, you made my childhood cool, you made my teenage years cool, man. Because by the time I became a teenager in the early 2000s and I was coming into my own, you was coming out and Guilty Conscience was out and things like that was out. And look, I never forget Guilty Conscience because these voices,
Exist.
I hear them, and when they speak, I follow. Shout out to my main man, Big Calvin. The minute we get in the car, every single time we take a road trip, we listen to that song to start it off. But M Man, one of the greatest of all time. He deserved to be in the GOAT conversation, regardless of his color. And he was magnificent. He was special. And like I stated, he did it very, very differently. And if you want to personify how differently he was doing it, I think that song, what's that skit that he had right before The Way I Am? Um, I think it was Chris Berman or Paul Berman or something like that.
Hmm.
And he spoke about what the average guy in hip hop was talking about. And he said it verbatim. You want to know why Dre's album was so successful? He's talking about big screen TVs, girls, 40s and this right here. You're rapping about this, and that. I can't sell this. So yeah, go back and listen to that skit right before The Way I Am, and Chris Berman, like I said, Paul Berman or whatever the world his name was on that skit. He personified what the average guy in hip hop was talking about. He's rapping about big screen TVs, women, 40s, and blunts. You're talking about this, and that. So I can't sell this album. Either change the album or it's not going to come out. Now get the blank out of my office. That personified how different Eminem was. Number 6 on the Marshall Mathers LP, man. So go back and listen to that album if you haven't heard it yet, man. If you have sensitive ears, I don't recommend you hear it, but if you can listen to WAP, you can listen to that. I'm just gonna be real.
Absolutely, man. Oh, that concludes the rest of the Sports PSP pod. Unfortunately, we couldn't have BRF finish the rest of the show, but as always, he's got a family. But always a pleasure having him on the pod, man. Undisputed world champ. Any final words, man?
Oh, it's the holiday season, people. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Be kind with your words. Be kind. Everybody don't need to hear a whole bunch of nonsense. Be kind with your words. A hug and you know, just be kind with your words, man. Some people are everybody. There's a common misconception that holidays are glamour. It's not for a lot of people. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are doing finals right about now. A lot of people are doing a lot of different things, man. So be kind with your words this holiday season, especially with your loved ones, because some people just never forget what you say. People say sticks and stones, yes, but that doesn't defeat what it does to someone's mind
Words
physically.
always hurt.
But when you get it in your mind, somebody say something stupid to you, you remember it. It's like, all right. So watch your mouth and be careful, mindful about your words. Don't be around here in the great words of Jim Cornette spewing utter buffoonery.
I agree. I agree with that. And we just gonna keep on with the Sports PSP pod, man. We just gonna keep on doing whatever we can to make sure that this pod is a success. BRF had a hard time with the voice, the microphones. Don't worry, BRF will do what we can to accommodate you. Um, Champ, if I may have something for a Sunday, I know you got your pod, but if we do something for like a 4:30 or a 5, if you're interested, please let me know.
In the great words of Sam Merriman, sign me up.
Absolutely. Love doing the pod always with the big fella, and we're going to do more and more. But thank y'all for hopping on to the Sports PSP pod. Please check out the podcast every Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Please go check out the Undisputed GOAT podcast as well. Also, other great content creators, as of course, the Sports for You podcast with John Watson, Mark, Nick DeFries. Also, please go check out JoJo, Nessa, the wrestling duos. Acknowledge the dynasty. You got Hot Take Kenny with his music podcast, Trent with his podcast, Brandon from the block, Broad Sports. The list goes on and on. Shout out to them and also the Stay Tuned podcast. Also, one last favor, one last shout out to this beautiful, wonderful woman, D. Like a big sister to me. Hope to see you soon. Love you, sweetheart. She always gives champs her love. And hopefully y'all two will see each other again, whether in Columbus, Georgia or New York, man. But y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Enjoy some good college football and some NFL. And we is out. Peace.